Lessons for Living, Part 9. Change your mind, change your life. Several publications. Discover simple ways for choosing your best attitude, improving your self-esteem, creating motivation for change. Chapter 1. Welcome the rainbow. India is so large, it is so varied. Indians belong to a multitude of communities, profess different religions, speak different languages, etc. The American government of George W. Bush expressed in 2004 its marvel at the miracle of Indian democracy. In a country where the vast majority of people are Hindus, the leader of the largest political party was a Christian, a foreign-born woman. A Sikh was the prime minister and a Muslim was the president. Advanced societies respected differences. Spain's Score Federation took action in December 2004 against its national coach, Luis Aragonés, because he made racist remarks about Arancel's French striker Thierry Henry during a training session. In some other countries, differences between people are given so much importance that even neighbors do not talk to each other. Differences are pushed forward to such a level that conflicts seem unavoidable. We cannot deny the differences that exist between groups of people. These differences put us into strict categories like nations, tribes, religions, regions, classes, castes, clans, etc. The list can be endless. Ideological, political, religious, and cultural groups make these differences very important because they touch our beliefs, attitudes, values, and behavior. Religion is a way of relating with God. In our country, in the last few years, religion has been taken out of its correct context. It has been used to divide and separate our people. We have suffered great tragedies because of this. Divisions according to caste among the equal citizens of this country submit a section of our people to insult below human dignity. We see at every election how in this great democracy political parties make people jump to each other's throat at the slightest and even imagined hurt. Everyone knows and feels the secret and open abuse of people and injustice against them. Few would like to speak about it because they know what they are doing is wrong. The very existence of mankind depends on respect for one of the most important differences between people. The difference in gender, the difference between the male and the female is needed for the whole of creation to continue to exist. Nature thrives on differences and the variety they bring. The rainbow is so beautiful because of its different colors. A garden is attractive because of the difference in the shape, size, fragrance, and colors of its flowers. Different plants and animals thrive in different parts of the world because the climate and the season differ from place to place. Because different food tastes different, we eat a variety of foods and we become healthy and strong. We would be unhealthy if we ate only the same thing every day. Imagine a world where every flower is of the same color and fragrance, where every leaf has the same shape and shade on garden and shade of green, where every fruit has the same shape, smell and taste. Imagine a world where every animal looks alive, where every bird sings the same song, where every insect, reptile, fish and everything else is identical. Imagine a world where it is the same season always, no matter what time of the year, either always cold or always hot or sunny or rainy or whatever, where there is only either day or night, where one place is just like any other place. Do you know what the world of sameness would be? It would be absolutely boring. It would also soon die. Nature does not reject differences. Instead, it builds on differences. Nature celebrates differences. Human beings, too, can only enrich themselves if they learn to celebrate the differences among them and not remain in closed groups defined by narrow differences. This is true whether one is an Indian or Pakistani, Naga or Meitei, Hindu or Muslim, South Indian or North Indian. Differences are actually windows to the great treasures that are to be discovered in each other. When used well, they build a strong world. Almost every one of Brazil's footballers was a star, but they did not win the World Cup of 2006. The Italians were not all stars, but each had a different skill, suited to his particular position in the field. All of them played together as a team, each contributed his specific different skills and each made use of the other's specialized skills. They were not the best individual players, but they were the best team and they won the cup. In situations that are characterized by conflict or the possibility of it, differences can be very threatening. If one group sees another as a threat, their differences are made to look like evils. Conflict results and communities are torn apart. Members of communities in conflict experience two very disastrous efforts. 1. Frustration. Frustration is a very evident effect of conflict. When of communities or groups are in conflict, energy is wasted on making plans to outsmart the other. Tension hangs in the air. Normal social life is not possible. The sense of security is lost. Suspicion enters into all dealings. Life comes to a standstill and the future looks hopeless. Frustration grows in everyone, especially the young who dream of a bright future. Frustration leads to anger and often finds expression in violence. 2. Prejudice. Prejudices are judgments that are made without trying to discover facts. The entire group is judged as bad. Everything that the other group does is given a bad meaning. Personal experiences to the country are forgotten. One's own group is considered the best is everything. Often, the adults create prejudices in the young. They make them angry and push them to take revenge. No one dares to accusation the prejudices, nor the reason for them. If someone does, he might be seen as a traitor to his group. Prejudices based on religion, caste, tribe, class, and the rural-urban divide affect our attitudes and behavior in very many different ways. If we could use our differences in a good way, we could achieve much more than what we could all by ourselves. This is at the core of what? This is at the root of what is called synergy. Synergy is the combined energy of a group. It helps the group to achieve together much more than the sum total of what the individuals in the team could achieve separately. The ability to create differences is the key to synergy. When we work synergistically, differences are no longer threatening, they become building blocks just as the The difference in the nature of wood, brick, cement, stone, sand, and iron are not a threat, but a secret to the strength and stability of a building. When a person thinks differently from the way I think, I have two options. One is to close myself up saying, "Oh, he does not agree with me, so I will have nothing to do with him, and I must find ways of opposing what the other thinks and says." The other is to open up and say, "Oh, great, there is another way of looking at the same situation. I missed it till now. Let me see how it is." The first option tries to kill differences, while the second builds on differences for further enrichment. The second option leads to synergy and growth. In synergy, differences in thinking and option are turned into opportunities for further learning. Difference often are possibilities and not cause problems. Nature has made every human being different. Unless cloning of human beings become a reality, this truth will hold good. Apart from our physical and external differences, we are all different in our outlook, the values we hold, the way we communicate and relate with each other, interpret reality, feel, think, react to situations, etc. All these differences make us unique. Each one can make an island of oneself or work these differences together into a new, enriched and multicolored reality. Some factors that can help us build this reality are: 1. Celebrating differences. Instead of merely tolerating them, we need not only to follow the differences passively for the sake of peace. We need to active appearance the differences. We will then see how they complement one another for the sake of progress and for deeply rooted peace. We tolerate difference because we cannot help it. Instead, we appreciate differences because we choose to have them. 2. Willingness to work in teams rather than alone. When we interact with people and work together towards common goals, we see how individual difference actually helps achieve these common goals. Teamwork factors the ability to make the best of what each individual player can contribute. 3. Open-mindedness to truth wherever it is present. There are many shades of the same truth. No one is ever absolutely right. Thinking that one is always absolutely right is the greatest block to a total understanding of the truth. Open-mindedness enables one to see the truth present even in opinion opposed to one's own. 4. Harmony is better than compromise. In a compromise, each party loses something. Compromise is at times neat and useful, but the ideal would be to find better ways of living with respect for differences. Differences are unavoidable. They are a part of nature, including our nature, but will they cause division among us human beings, or will they pave the way for a richer life? That depends entirely on us. Maybe we ought to learn more from Mother Nature that celebrates difference so joyously and exuberantly. Then maybe human beings too will achieve the maximum when then will Tagore's dream come true, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. Celebrate differences. Celebrate life. Exercise. 1. Answer the following questions. A. Why did the government of George W. Bush marvel at Indian democracy? B. What are some of the differences among people? C. How do differences in nature make the world a beautiful place to live in? D. How do frustration arise as a result of conflicts? E. How do prejudices harm us? How can we function synergistically in spite of our differences? The excellence of factors that can help us build a new, multi-colored reality to discuss. It would be better if all the students in our school belong to the same community in every sense. 3. Something to do. Make a list of all the differences among the students of your class. Design a culture item that makes it possible to give expression to as many of these differences as possible. So something to think about. Every single human being is different. Every single one is unique. There is no one else like me. It is wonderful that I am unique and every one of my companions at school is also unique. 5. Something to memorize. If men would consider not so much wherein they differ as wherein they agree, there would be far less of uncharacteristableness and energy feelings in the world. Joseph Addison. Honest differences are often a healthy sign of progress. Mahatma Gandhi. Where there is no difference, there is only indifference. It is just nice. Compulsory unification of opinion achieves only the unanimity of the graveyard. Felix Frankfurter. Variety of mere nothing gives more pleasure than uniformity of something. Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Richter. Sameness is the mother of disgust. Variety is the cure. Protract. All sun makes the desert. Arapropos. Chapter 2. The Internet. One of the greatest inventions that we have made in the last few years is the Internet. It was reported in May 2006 that over 1 billion people are connected among themselves through this tool. These uses of the Internet are numerous. We can find today information on almost anything in the world using the Internet. Through the Internet, we look at original documents that are preserved in just one archive in the whole world. We can read rare books that are preserved in the best libraries at any site on the globe. We look at paintings that are displayed in the richest galleries. The latest research by the greatest scientists and scholars are posted on the Internet. We read up on every subject under the sun and acquire all the knowledge we seek. We find information about schools and colleges that we would like to study in and the process to follow for getting ourselves admitted. We can do studies and earn degrees from universities. We look up the results for examinations conducted by regular universities. We post information about ourselves on the Internet and seek employment. In fact, we may sit at home and work for a company in any other part of the world. A lot of the work Indian companies do today for people in various parts of the world is accomplished through the Internet. We work together as a team on a common project with people from all around the globe. Entertainment of all sorts is available on the Internet. We watch movies of our choice and listen to songs we like most. We may play games by ourselves with a regular opponent or with any stranger from any part of the world. We can plan our holiday trip to any place. We book hotel rooms, air tickets, and even rail tickets on the Internet. We found the lowest price of almost anything available in any part of the world and buy them with the click of the mouse. We sell things with equal ease. Our letters to friends and family members reach them almost instantly and free of cost. We form groups on the net and share information among the members of this group. We could meet interesting people on the internet. We chat with our friends or with people who have the same internet as we have, as and when we choose to. We seek advice from religious leaders or counseling from experts. We found suitable life partners choosing from among millions of people. Like almost anything else in the world, the internet too is misused a lot. As we are young, we may be carried off by the possibilities offered by the internet and get into serious trouble. It would be wise to learn to use this tool in the right way in order to derive the maximum benefit from it, avoiding all that could harm us. The information available on the internet is so vast that people can call it information overload. It is not easy to find the exact knowledge we seek at the time we need it. Start any search and you could find millions of sites that are in some way related to the topic you have asked for. If you search the net without the right skills, you would waste hours with no satisfactory results. Ask your teachers or someone with experience how to phrase your request to get the best results. You could get addicted to surfing the net as you could get addicted to watching television. In December 2004, Dr. Jitendra Nagpal of NIMHANS said he treated 3 or 4 patients every week who were cyber addicts. According to doctors, internet is addictive as it gives a sense of control. It makes people feel they can do anything. The fact they can do it secretly gives from even greater thrill. A study in November 2005 showed that in India, teenagers spend more time on the internet than anyone else. Over 26% of this time was on entertainment, while internet use for learning something was only 2%. Psychologist Anjali Chabria warned, as a child internet and as a child's internet interest as a child's interest in an online game increases, his involvement in other activities diminishes. He starts withdrawing from family and friends. This is particularly seen in young boys more than girls. Control the time you spend on the net. There are many young people who have ruined their studies because they spend too much time on the internet and too little on their studies. You must have heard about computer virus and worms. What is strange is that these are not things found in nature. They are computer programs made by people precisely to harm others. It is a crime to make them. In June 2004, 18-year-old Ben Jassen was arrested in Germany for having created the Caesar worm that caused damage to millions of computers around the world. If found guilty, he could spend up to 5 years in prison. If you are capable of writing powerful computer programs, use the skill to create helpful things, not to do harm to the computers of others. If you use the email, do not open messages from unknown people, particularly the attachments that may come with them. Viruses and worms are usually released into your computer by opening this attachment. Their makers may give very tempting titles to these attachments to attract you into opening them. Be careful, you could destroy all that you have in your computer. If you find you have a virus or worm on your computer, completely stop using internet. While you are doing something else on the net, the virus could be sending out messages to all the addresses in your list of friends, each of them with the same virus attached. You could harm all your friends. Get an antivirus program at the earliest, remove the virus and get online only after that. Do not send threatening messages nor truly personal private message by email or mobile phone. Your message could be tapped and recorded by unknown people. Changing your ID or using a computer in a cyber cafe does not give you privacy. Computer experts can trace you out. In March 2006, an American boy of Indian origin was detained for making threat to George Bush, so he meant it only as a joke. In July 2006, after the serial blast in Mumbai, a boy in Bhopal was arrested for sending a message pretending that he was a member of a terrorist group. Not all of what is posted on the internet is true or good. There is also information that is dangerous. In October 2004, a student of IIM Lucknow hanged himself by accident because he was trying out something that he read about on the internet. It was reported in October 2004 that people in Japan were using net to form groups to commit suicide together. Be careful of the people you chat with on the internet. You may create a new ID each time you log in. Other people do the same. They pretend they pretend to be other than they are. They may be thinking you are chatting with a party young student, whereas he may be anyone at all. In December 2004, Dr. Matseswala of New Delhi was counseling a 15-year-old girl who fell in love with a boy she had met only on the internet. On meeting him in person, she discovered that he was more than double her age. In November 2005, two Nigerians, Oliver Jusite and Ojro Kono, were arrested at New Delhi. They had tricked a man in Andhra Pradesh into giving them $12,300. There have been many cases of people who have been cheated in different ways by those they have met on the internet. Do not try to meet in person people you enjoyed chatting with on the internet. If you do take the risky decision to meet someone personally, make sure you do not go alone. Take someone, preferably an adult, with you. Do not give anyone your correct postal address or telephone number. You could be harassed in various ways. You do not give anyone's bank account number or credit card numbers. You may find all the money in the account stolen. Do not send your photos to anyone. There have been cases of girls who first have been joined to the phones of naked bodies, joined to the photos of naked bodies of others and posted on the internet, bringing them a bad name and lots of other forms of trouble. There are also rules of good manners for the use of the internet. We should learn this so as not to hurt the feeling of the people we chat with. Online chatting and sending a short message SMS has also another side effect, that of damaging our grammar and spelling. The abbreviations that are allowed and understood while chatting are not suitable for the normal use of English. When the need arises, we may find that we cannot remember the exact correct spelling of a word. A study by Mary Tress by Bangalore found in May 2006 that only 10% of applications for a BPO job are fit for it because of the poor quality of their English. It has happened that people fall in love with someone who has chatted with them regularly on the internet. In April 2004, a woman in her 30s at Chongqing City in South China wanted to cure her daughter who was addicted to the internet. In order to play an exemplary role on how to be moderate in the use of it, she herself learned it. She ended up chatting frequently with one particular individual. Finally, the mother eloped with this cyber friend, abandoning her husband and daughter. Be careful about the type of conversation with conversation you have with your cyber friends. Delhi police reported in December 2004 that 40% of the targets of cybercrime are women. There are numerous pornographic sites on the internet. These are particularly dangerous for various reasons. We must remember that these sites have been created to earn money and no other motivation. People do anything to be rich. Most of what we see on these sites is unreal. People on them have been made to look unrealistically beautiful. Cases have been reported of people who have lost all interest in real people of the opposite sex because they do not come up to what they have for too long been looking at on the internet. Like any other form of pornography, the sites on the internet arouse our sexual desire so much that we may lose control of ourselves and do things that are harmful to ourselves and to others. Addiction to these sites can damage our normal growth, our mental and physical health, our studies, our family life, and our relation with our friends. We have to be careful about the use of mobile telephones too. Most schools forbid the use of mobile phones on campus. If your school allows you to have one, follow all the rules you have been given regarding the use of it. We switch it off before we enter a place of worship, a theater, cinema hall, or a meeting. In public places, we keep our voice down when we use it. It is wrong to take picture of people we do not know without their prior permission. It would be good to discuss with your parents or counselors whatever you read, see, or do on the internet. They could help you avoid dangerous mistakes. Learn to be prudent and to use the internet wisely. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. Explain at least 3 good uses of the internet. B. Why is it dangerous to give details about ourselves to strangers we meet on the internet? C. What should we do if we find we have a virus on our computer? D. How does chatting on the internet or mobile phone damage our English? E. Is it possible to get addicted to the internet? How can we avoid that? F. What are some of the rules for the use of the internet? So, discuss. Our parents and teachers worry unnecessarily about our use of the internet only because they themselves do not know how to use it. 3. Something to do. Let each one find something truly useful on the internet and share it with the class. For something to think about. Everything in life can be well used or misused. We choose how we could make the best use of everything around us. Something to memorize. We live in a world of overlapping networks. This is the time to start your own network or join one and get connected with like-minded people. Networking empowers the individual, and people in networks tend to nurture one another. To nourish one another. John Naisbitt. He that will not apply new remedies must accept. He that will not apply new remedies must expect new evils. Bacon. Chapter 3. Reasonability, responsibility for my education. Everyone agrees that the human being is the high point of God's creation. Physically, he is among the weakest among all animals, yet he has made himself the master of all creation, even to the extent of doing permanent damage to nature. He has, for example, been the cause of the extinction of several species of animals. It is his brain that was enabled man to achieve this mastery over the earth. He has produced tools that enable him to do anything that other animals do. But far better than they can, he can fly faster, higher for longer distance, and carrying greater weights than any bird can do. In fact, he can send tons of material right to the moon on the planets to the planets or even beyond them. He moves in water faster and deeper than any fish. He drills kilometers deep into the earth. He lifts weight beyond all imagination. He can destroy even the largest of the animals with the movement of a single finger on a trigger. Some people make the machines that enable man to do such marvels. Others can at least operate these machines. Some others can do neither because they are uneducated. It is true that the intelligence of all human beings is not perfectly equal, but theoretically speaking, the vast majority of human beings have at least an average intelligence. Everyone can do almost anything that any other person is capable of. One factor that makes the big difference among people is the education they have received. People from remotest village of India have competed in the latest technologies and come out on top in all parts of the world. Gurdeep Singh Paul from Chandigarh, former student of St. John's High School, Chandigarh, became in March 2005 corporate vice president of Microsoft, earning a salary of over $1 million a year. Anurag Acharya in Kharagpur is a principal engineer of Google and created Google Scholar. It was released in November 2004 and makes the world's scientific literature universally available. Almost any ordinary human being can do incredibly great things in great things if given the right education and if he works at it seriously. It is sad that so many millions of our countrymen have not even learned to read and write. In August 2004, Minister of State for HRD, MAA Fatmi, informed the Rajya Sabha that 35.2% of our population remains literate. 18 of children between 6 and 14 are out of school. 63% of children between 14 and 18 are non even studying. What privilege we enjoy. An opportunity so many others do not have, the privilege of being able to study, and that too in a very good school like ours. Every privilege comes along with responsibilities. More will be demanded from him who has received more. It would be a serious failure on our part if we were not to make the maximum efforts in our studies. In our towns and more developed areas, people have been receiving education since generations. Educated parents follow up their children closely and make sure that they do their home study and homework. They know how to prepare their children for their examinations. Even these well-educated parents of ours may not have realized, due to the demands of their own work, the competition we face today. The best institutions of higher studies are raising the standards expected of those seeking admission into them. The cut-off marks for commerce and arts for admission into St. Stephen's in Delhi was 96% in 2004. It is even tougher when we have to find work. There are excellent jobs available today, but the demand for equality is extremely high. Unless the demand for quality is extremely high. Unless our performance in studies is excellent, we do not stand a chance of making much progress. This awareness ought to motivate us to put in our best efforts. We are responsible for our own studies and our future. It would be foolish and childish at our age to be studying just sciences, just sufficient to please our parents, or just sufficient to pass the examinations. The parents of some of us may be illiterate or not highly qualified. They may not understand what is needed for a good education. They may not know that besides the hours we spend daily at school, if we really want to do well in our studies, we ought every day to spend at home several more hours with our books. They may not understand that the need for almost full-time study in the months preceding the examinations. At our age, it can be tempting to take advantage of the ignorance of our parents, to roam around having fun when we ought to be studying. This would be a very short-sighted thing to do, since in the long term we are only doing harm to our own possibilities in life. If we are indeed the first generation of students in our family, we should also take the place of our parents in following up the studies of our younger brother and sister. We understand the demands of a good education better than even our parents do. We should see to it that our younger siblings make the best of their opportunities. In the time of our parents or grandparents, by the time they were at our age, they were already productive members of the family. They went to the fairs of their shop and worked alongside their parents, contributing substantially to feeding and clothing themselves and their family. Today, our parents are the only productive ones in our family. They shoulder the entire responsibility for us and our brothers and sisters till we are 20 years and more, depending on how far we study. This is not a light burden, considering the soaring cost of education, especially in reputed institutions, particularly if we have to be in a hostel or boarding. Some parents have a regular 8-hour job and then do some other work or business on the side to support their children's studies. Others make serious sacrifices, live without luxuries and even necessities, which their own children may already be enjoying even as students. MC Alex of Pala in Kerala in a bank, works in a bank and has a small rubber plantation. Yet he went around till recently on the old scooter, even when all his brothers had bought cars. When asked for the reason, he said, "When my three children complete high school, I may need to pay heavily to admit them in a technical institute. Their opportunity to study in the best institute is more important for me than to go around in a car." There are many cultivators who sell off their land piece by piece. There are even parents in government service or in positions of authority who go to the extent of taking bribes for the sake of their education of their children. It is important to be aware of all that our parents are going through for our sake, particularly for our education. It is good to talk to them about it and thank them. The very best way, the very best way to show this gratitude is, of course, to concentrate in our studies to the extent possible and make all our talents, gifts, and competitions and capacities bloom to their extent. bloom to their maximum. What would we say of a person who receives a gift of a lakh of rupees and throws it away into a river? Our opportunity for education is a far greater treasure than that. It would be most foolish on our part to throw it away unused to the full. The parents of Adi Sesa, a Bonda tribal girl of Bandigora village in Odisha, are illiterate and extremely poor. She started studying through Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan in November 2005 when in class 7 she was one of the 7 girls selected by UNICEF as the greatest young female achievement. A Anjia of Wangald had to drop out of school due to poverty. He became a scooter mechanic and studies on his own. He earned a doctorate in political science from Kakatiya University and in December 2005 a second doctorate in library science from the Osmania University. Jayashree Patel of Shokhalda in Gujarat taught herself English after arriving in America in 2004. She sold insurance worth $60 million. In April 2004, 200 inmates of Tihar jail at New Delhi sat for their matriculation examinations after being taught by other jailmates. They value the education they get in difficult circumstances. At our age and maturity, we ourselves are most responsible for our education, not our teachers, parents, or anyone else. We already know what we need to do to perform well in studies, and it is up to us to do it. Exercise. Okay. Answer the following questions. Why is it right to say that human beings have outdone every other creature in every respect? B. Why do students need to excel in their studies today more than earlier? C. In what ways are the students of today more privileged than their parents and grandparents were at their age? D. What sacrifices are some parents forced to make for the education of their children? E. In what ways are we responsible for our education and that of our younger brothers and sisters? If write about the achievement of Adi Sesa, M. Anja and Jayashree Patel to discuss. Our parents and teachers know more than we do. They are the only ones responsible for our good education. So it's something to do. Make a list, all of you together in a class, of all that you yourself could do to improve your performance in your studies. 1. Something to think about. It is high time for me to take into my hands the responsibility for my own education. Unless I do my part in the best way possible, no one else can ensure that I receive a good education. 2. Something to memorize. You can lead a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. You can lead a boy to college, but you cannot make him think. Albert Hubbard. You cannot push anyone up a ladder unless he be willing to climb it. Andrew Carnegie. Chapter 4. Honesty is the best policy. Lakshmi Hazra earns about ₹100 a day selling vegetables outside Kolkatia station in West Bengal. One day in November 2005, she found a bag on a bench of the railway platform. This bag, belonging to Sanjay Mandal from Ulveria, contained rupees 1,02,199. She handed over the money to H. Samantha at the police station. It was not my money. How could I touch it? She said. Another Indian woman, earning pound 38,000, over rupees 30 lakh a year as an executive personal assistant in the UK stole pound 4 million from her employer before she was finally caught in May 2004. A 17-year-old Indian girl in the USA became world famous in 2005 for a very popular book she had written. A few months later, it was discovered that she had copied long passages from two other books. Her book had to be withdrawn from the market. Tribals, 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 village folk, and people with a strong religious motivation were absolutely honest some years ago. Then the world began to be taken over by cutthroat competition in every field, by corrupt politicians and corrupting businessmen. We gradually go we gradually got convinced that we could not have great success in any field unless we were willing to compromise with our principles, cheat our customers, and buy our way upwards. In 2006, some doctors were caught using their cell phones to get help from outside their examination hall. Students in good schools are honest in their internal examinations when the supervision is tight. But when they appear their board exam, some of them try to copy. They see students from other schools copying with impunity. They are afraid they will not be able to compete from memory with those who are copying from the book or who have the help of a team of writers outside the examination hall. The fact is that examiners easily distinguish copied answers from those written by the student themselves. The top rankers in any examinations are not those who copied. In the last few years, things have begun to change for the better in the business world. Ethical practice and honest behavior are finding their way back into it. Recently, Arthur Dennis Millard confessed to a price-fixing conspiracy that cost customers millions of dollars a year in higher prices for soft drinks and soaps. It agreed to pay a $100 million fine besides bringing price down. Bridgestone Firestone Company and Ford Motor Company apologized to the American people for a series of tire failure that resulted in the death of several persons. That could have easily been prevented if the safety of human lives had been given greater importance over profit making. Business people are returning to ethical, honest behavior. Many companies now have an officer with the title Ethics Officer. The Ethics Officers Association in Belmont, Massachusetts, had 12 members in 1992. 10 years later, there were over 1,000. Daniel Yankolovich, the chairman of a market research firm, says executives did not worry about social issue for a generation. Put there is a yellow light flashing now, and they'd better pay attention. People in the more advanced and enlightened communities have begun to boycott companies that have immoral policies. They choose the product of corporations with honorable prices. Businessmen are relearning now the old principle that honesty is the best policy. Politics is not too far behind business in the demands for ethical, honest behavior. Joseph Estrada, president of the Philippines, called the Chancellor of Germany, and Jeffrey Archer, Member of Parliament in the UK, are just three of the recent examples of politicians who had to quit business they had been dishonest in their political careers. George W. Bush of the USA and Tony Blair of the UK lost a lot of their popularity because they were accused of manipulating reports of the Secret Service before the invention, second invasion of Iraq. In our own country, a more active election commission, an independent vigilance commission, a thorough account general, accountant general, an enlightened Supreme Court, and fearless journalists are gradually making it more and more difficult for politicians and brokers to be corrupt at their work. People are no longer fooled by the false promises made at the time of elections. In May 2004, the police uncovered a gang in Kolkata that was selling fake certificates. Not so long ago, people with certificates, whether bought or acquired through copying, did have some hope of government job. A certificate and a large bribe ensured employment. There was almost no danger of losing the job because there was not much work to do that would several their lack of skills. In 2004, Indian applicants for admission and scholarship in universities in the USA were found giving false information about themselves. One said that she was fourth among 600 students while she was seventh of 150. Some who needed recommendation from their own teachers who had doctorates took them from teachers who did not even know them. Others lied about their families, saying that they were extremely poor. Jobs and admission through deceit are thing of the past. Computerization of records has made it easy to verify facts. Data on schools, college examinations, results, etc. are readily checked even through the internet. Hundreds of employees of the Departments of Education and Youth Affairs in Manipur were sacked in 2004 because they were found to have got employed through fake certificates. The government has very few jobs to offer. All departments in all the rates, all the states as well as the center are trying to reduce the number of their employees, retrying works, retrying workers are not replaced with new ones. People with a certain number of years of service are offered voluntary retirement scheme. Fresh recruitment is kept down to the minimum possible. For each post that is advertised, there are new literally thousands of people holding the required certificate. The certificate had suddenly become the last important of the qualification for the least important of the qualification for a job even with the government. The recruitment procedures for government jobs have become so demanding that a certificate that has been acquired through copying service almost no purpose. Certificates have to be backed by genuine knowledge, skills, talents, capacities, moral qualities, and personality. Most of today's fresh employment is created not by the government but by the private sector. The best paid jobs are no longer in the administrative service. In 2006, over a dozen of highest officers in the government of Maharashtra switched over to Reliance project of Navi Mumbai Special Economic Zone. Private companies, especially multinational companies, offer the best salaries, perks, and possibilities for rapid promotion. The most gifted among the young people of today have the following order of preference when they look at their future career: a job abroad, preferably in the United States, a job in India with a foreign multinational company, an India-based multinational company, the Indian Administrative Service, Indian private companies, other government services. Private companies have always given greater importance to actual knowledge and real skill than to paper qualifications. This is true today more than ever before, so much so that they have started looking also for qualities like honesty, integrity, loyalty, capacity to teamwork, openness to other castes, cultures, ethnic groups, etc.
They look first for the skills needed for the work. Next, they look for the qualities mentioned here. Certificates are low in their list of demands. Performance is what matters, not paper qualifications. Jeanette, a young Regnumi woman from Temananglang in Manipur, experienced this. She went for an interview in New Delhi for the post of an office secretary in a multinational company. She lost her confidence when she saw more than 50 girls waiting for the same interview. She was surprised when she was selected for the job. I was totally unexpected, she confesses. There were so many girls who were smartly dressed and had better English, faster speed of typing, and lots of experiences. I am convinced that I was selected because I had the required skills and at an acceptable level. In combination with my sincerity and honesty, they got through to my character and personality in some way, and they knew it was they could trust with their job and their office. The same is true of admission into prestigious institutions of higher learning. Certificates issued by boards and universities, even when backed by mark lists showing high preferences, do not guarantee admission into these institutions. All colleges and institutions of any repute have their own admission procedures. No one who passed through copying alone can hope to deal with them adequately. Serious study at every level of schooling is the only way to make progress. Honesty is indeed the best policy. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. Why has business corporation become more honest recently? B. Which are the agencies in India that are helping to make politicians and bureaucrats more honest? C. Why are students who copy not the toppers in the examinations? D. Why is it easy to check records today? E. Why have certificates become less important today? F. What are the qualities many employees look for in their potential employees? G. Is it easy to get admission to famous institutions only with a high mark list? To discuss. Is character formation more important than certificates for finding good employment? Something to do. Interview some employers in your area to find out what qualities they look for in their employees. For something to think about. Unless my certificates are backed by real knowledge, skills, a good character, and a personality, it is not easy to get admission into prestigious institutions of higher studies and to find good jobs. 5. Something to memorize. The shortest and surest way to live with honor in the world is to be in reality what we would appear to be. Socrates. A straight line is shortest is normal. A straight line is shortest in morals as well as in geometry. Rahul. He who says that there is no such thing as an honest man is himself a knave. Berkeley. Money dishonestly acquired is never worth its cost, while a good conscience never costs as much as it is worth. J.P. Sen. Prefer loss before dishonest gain, for that brings grief but once, this forever. Shiloh. Chapter 5. Freedom. Mr. Hongori was driving his teenager daughter, Angamala, to the market to buy her a new dress. On the way, she started talking about all the conflicts she was facing at home, at school, and in the village. Why on earth do we have so many rules for every little thing? She said. Even the Bible has given us only 10 commandments. if we were to put all the rules in the Bible together, they would not come to more than 20 pages. We have instead thousands of rules for every minor thing. Every minor thing. When to talk, when to not talk, what to say, what not to say, with whom to talk, with whom not to talk, when to study, what film to see, what time I have to be back home in the evening, what clothes to wear, how long or short my dress should be. I feel literally as though in a prison. Why should I follow all these rules made by other people? Why can't I do exactly what I want and nothing more? I have 20 teachers and 2 monitors on my back at school. Mommy and you and my elder sister dictate everything at home. The post, the pastor and elder watch my every step in the village. Who am I, a child? Oh no, no, Daddy. Can't you read? Did you not see? Back there are the road sign to the main market. Now we are on a one-way street and we will need at least the 15 minutes and quit a bit of trouble to get back on the right road. You are right, Angamala. I did see the road sign, but I thought, what the heck? Why should I allow myself to be controlled by a bunch of stupid signposts? Why can't I get to the market anyway I like? Angamala is right to an extent. Rules and regulations should be kept to the minimum required for the smooth running of the family, school, institution, etc. Secondly, a lot of the rules and the punishments for breaking them are for people who are not mature enough to understand and choose by themselves the right and best way to do things. This is the reason why no one tells an adult when or where to cross a road. Instead, we hold a child by the hand and take him across, not when he wants to, but when we decide that it is safe to do so. Children are given more rules, advice, corrections, punishments, and restrictions than adults are. We do not change from being children to being adults suddenly. In a day, as it were, growing up, learning the right from the wrong, the good from the bad, is a gradual process. So freedom is given to us gradually. Our freedom to choose is increased as we grow in our knowledge and capacity to choose the right. We have already learned quite a lot, and for things we know we should not be compelled by too many rules. Treats and punishments, we do the right thing by our own choice. In some other areas might still be a lot of us to learn yet. We are therefore given guidelines as regards them. These guidelines are like road signals that make our life easier. When we follow them, things are smoother for us. When we don't, we lose time and sometimes many other things besides. Being able to use freedom in the right way is a great thing, and we learn it gradually. As we progress in it, correspondingly greater freedom is given to us. Knowledge of the good does not alone by itself guaranteed that we will do what is good. At times when what is bad appears to give us more fun, we choose it rather than the good. We need, therefore, also a strong willpower to do what we know is right. Ultimately, we find that the fun we expected was no big deal. It was small and short-lived. In some cases, the consequences of our wrong choice are not great because the matter itself was not so important. On other occasions, we are left with serious negative consequences that change the course of our entire life. Think of someone who sees a car or motorcycle lying around and decides to go for a spin. Though the vehicle is not his and he is not old enough to drive, a minute or two are sufficient to get him into a serious accident. Driving is a stolen Driving a stolen vehicle and making him responsible for his own or other people's death or injury. Think of someone who wants to experience drugs just for once and ends up dead, or with AIDS, or an addict for the rest of his life. It is to prevent this type of mistake that there are rules and regulations. But it is interesting to note that though the rules are there, we still have our freedom. We choose freely to obey the rules or to disregard them. The punishments they are threatened by rules are external ones. External ones. They are very mild in comparison to the harm done to our body, mind, heart, spirit, personality, and conscience. Our ancestors or elders learned of these serious consequences from their own mistakes or those of others. Based on their experience, they made these rules for us as signposts posts to save us from the evil consequences of making these same mistakes. We are willing to learn from the mistakes of others, so we observe these rules. Every decision we take is like making a choice at a crossroads. Certain crossroads are so big that the choice we make changes the decision of our entire life. Some of these are obvious, such as the decision to continue studying or to stop, to take up arts or science in the higher secondary, to get married or not, etc. There are rather crossroads that do not appear so big when we are at them, and yet give a new direction to our whole life. Lolia, who is a highly placed officer now, remembers the day when she had to decide to go for a party and please her friend, or stay back home to study for an examination the next day, and thus displease her friend. Displease her friend that she believes that the extra effort she made on the single day gave her a margin in the result and set her on her way to where she is now. Lexogen remembers the day he came across a group of his friends bullying a kid. He had to choose to join the bullies or the child. He chooses for the boy. He lost his friend and he had to start mixing with a new group. If he had joined the bullies instead, he would have had a different life. He could even be dead already, for many from his first gang dropped out of school and went on to become drug addicts and criminals. One way to know whether we are at an important crossroads in our life is to see how disturbed or worried we are about the choice we are about to make. Sometimes we feel the need for a second thought, or we would like our actions to remain secret. This is because our subconscious is warning us of the consequences of a wrong decision. That is the time to make use of all our knowledge and freedom to choose to do what is right. Freedom does not mean being able to do whatever we like. Freedom means being able to choose by ourselves under no compulsion from any external authority to do what we know is the right thing to do. Purnima Narayanan did her class 12 examinations in India and then got admission into Nottingham University in the UK. She was surprised to hear that there were no attendance requirements at her university. There was further freedom in abundance, bars, nightclubs, and late night parties with no restrictions whatsoever. They were merely expected to do well in the examinations. She writes, studying on my own, sitting in the library, following everyday's work were no things I had ever done before. I did that now, not because it was a tough course, but because the freedom made me responsible. That is what freedom should do. It should make us responsible. Yamini Gupta is now teaching in the Department of Business Economics at Delhi University. When she was studying at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, USA, she learned of an informal honor code among the students there. By taking admission into the university, one was also to accept the honor code. Following the code means a student regulates his own behavior as regards his studies, examinations, term papers, etc. He does all this well, not because he is supervised or forced by external rules and threats of punishments. He is bounded by his honor alone. The professors expect the students to follow this code of honesty at all times. In fact, some of them do not even invigilate at examinations by being present physically for their interrogation. Even take-home exams are very common. The faculty place a lot of trust in these students, and breaking this trust by cheating or copying is considered a very serious offense and is not tolerated. Scouts and guides make a promise to follow certain rules, not for a reward or out of a fear of punishment, but on my honor. When we live by our honor, when we are men of honor, we are truly free. We will then do what is best for us, not because of external compulsion, but from our knowledge of what is the right thing for us to do as people of honor. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. To what extent in Angamala write about rules and regulations? B. What did Mr. Hangori teach his daughter about the purpose of laws and restrictions? C. What are the two things we need in order to make the right choices in life? D. How can we recognize whether we are about to make a decision that could turn out to be a major crossroads in our life? E. What does freedom truly mean? F. What was the experience of Purnima Narayanan at the Notre University at the United Kingdom? G. What did Yamini Gupta discover at the Clark University at Worcester? H. What does it mean to be mean of honor? 2. Discuss. Are we given too much or too little freedom at school and at home? 3. Something to do. Together with your moral science teacher or class teacher, draw up a set of rules by which you will regulate your own behavior in the classroom and at school. So, something to think about. Neither people in authority nor the rules they make are true threats to my freedom. What really threaten it are my own bad habits and my weak willpower. 5. Something to memorize. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. It is by education that I learn to do by choice what other men do by the constraint of fear. Aristotle. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Goethe. Chapter 6. Ecology. It is impossible to imagine our world without the sun. Is it possible? All the light, warmth, and many other forms of energy on Earth have their source on the sun. If the sun's rays do not reach the Earth, all types of life on it would soon die. The sun also sends us many forms of radiation that are harmful to human beings and all other forms of life. Fortunately, the Earth is protected by a thick layer of ozone gas far out in space. The ozone absorbs the harmful radiation and prevents it from reaching the surfaces of our green and blue planet. Some years ago, scientists discovered that the ozone layer around the Earth is getting thinner. In fact, there was a large area over the South Pole that had no ozone at all. Doctors say that some forms of cancer have become more frequent because we are exposed now to more radiation from the sun than we ought to be. Our scientists discovered that the ozone layer was being destroyed by some of the gases we use in our refrigerators, air conditioners, and spray cans. Once upon a time, thousands of years ago, large parts of the earth were covered by ice. Today, ice covered only small areas around the north and south pole. They are known as the polar ice caps. Ice caps. The rate at which the ice caps are melting is increasing year by year. Grass has started growing in parts of Antarctica earlier covered by ice sheets. Scientists say the continent is warming to temperatures unseen for 10,000 years. Large areas of the Earth's land are only a few meters above the surface of the sea. As more and more ice melts at the poles, the level of the sea is rising. At every monsoon, large parts of Bangladesh and other parts of our subcontinent go under floodwaters. Land is being eroded by the ocean as well as the rivers. The biggest river island in the world, Majuli in the Brahmaputra, is under serious threat. A similar situation is arising all around the globe. The area of land that we can use is becoming smaller and smaller. Heavy rains wash away the fertile topsoil, particularly from hill slopes that have no trees on them. Landslides carry off large areas of our hills. Sand, pebbles, and rocks settle in rivers rising in level of the riverbeds. Embankments on rivers banks are ineffective. In towns like New Orleans in the USA, where Hurricane Katrina caused so much destruction in 2005, on Dibrugarh in Assam, houses are below the level of the river. A breach in the embankment floods the entire town. The climate is changing all over the world. There are rains and floods in the wrong seasons. It rains heavily now in places that used to get only scant rainfall some years ago. Snow fell for the first time in the United Arab Emirates on 28 December 2004. Districts that used to get a lot of rain do not have rains now, and the land is turning into a desert. Natural phenomena like the El Nino, hurricanes and cyclones are becoming more frequent, and they cause havoc in many parts of the world. Scientists say that many of these things take place because the average temperature of the earth is rising. They call it global warming. They warn that if the earth continues to grow warmer, it will become impossible for human beings to live on it. They say that the main reason for global warming is the great increase in the production of carbon dioxide and some other gases. In cold countries, people grow vegetables, flowers, and fruits in fields covered by glass or plastic. They are called glass houses or glass houses, greenhouses. The gases we produce in our factories and by burning fuel in our vehicles do for the whole earth what greenhouses do for a small area. They warm up the whole earth. It is called the greenhouse effect. The governments of all countries recognize the danger we are in. They came together at Quetta with our best scientists and made an agreement to reduce the production of these gases. Human beings are the only creatures on the earth intelligent enough to care for the earth or to destroy it. We are producing many chemicals that can harm the balance of nature. We produce some of them intentionally because they make our life more comfortable. Some of others are the byproducts of manufacturing other goods that are useful for us. Years ago, the population was small and people's need are few. In those days, nature was able to balance by itself any change that men made on the earth. Today we are many and we want a lot of things. The change we are now making in nature are so massive that the earth is not able to maintain the balance anymore all by itself. We need to use our intelligence to help nature. We need the earth. The earth does not need us. If we abuse nature, our planet could become as Mars as and Venus are. What can ordinary people like us, who are not yet scientists or government officers, do to help nature? How can we prevent global warming and changes in the climate? Many of the ways in which we generate electricity products also a lot of heat and harmful gases. When we use less electricity, we are helping nature. We could switch off lights, fans, and any other equipment that we are not actually using at the moment. All motorized means of transport produce gases that cause global warming. We could travel by trains and buses whenever possible. They carry large numbers of people. Cars, motorcycles, and scooters harm nature more. We could even walk or use a bicycle when we are going only a short distance. We could consume less not food, water, or air because these are essential for our life. There are other things that are only luxuries. If we use less of these things, we will be saving the energy needed to produce them. We will decrease the gases that are produced when making these things. We could waste less, repair and reuse things instead of buying a new article. We could recycle more. New Delhi produces over 8,000 tons of waste every single day. It was reported in December 2004 that the corporation would soon have no place to left to dump all the waste. We could avoid cutting down trees. We can plant and care for the trees in our neighborhood. Trees and plants are great against in nature. Nature's struggle to maintain the balance on our earth. Tribal communities knew this long ago, and most of them had an area of forest that was considered sacred. There all human activity was forbidden. Trees help to regulate rainfall. They use up carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. They prevent erosion of the soil. A lot of the paper we use is made from wood pulp. When we recycle paper or avoid wasting it, we are preventing trees from being cut down unnecessarily. When speaking about our environment, we often use the phrase Mother Nature. We have to take care of our mother. If we do not, Mother Nature will die, not at a ripe old age, but because we have killed it by our carelessness, laziness, and love of immediate pleasure. And when Mother Nature dies, we shall all die with her. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. What is the ozone layer? Ozone layer. Of what use is it to us? B. What is global warming? What causes global warming? C. What climate change are taking place? D. What is the Kyoto Agreement? E. What do trees do for us? F. What can ordinary people do to prevent or slow down change in the climate? To discuss. A. The earth is so big, men are too small to harm it permanently. B. Only powerful people and adults can do anything to maintain the balance in nature. 3. Something to do. A. Plan a campaign to make the people in your school, family, village, and town aware of the dangers of global warming and how it can be prevented. B. Visit a factory in your neighborhood. See what it produces. Study how much electricity and other forms of energy it uses. Finally, find out whether it has some harmful byproducts. 4. Something to think about. Man has the capacity to build or destroy the whole of God's creation on earth. How great is the power that God has given us for the good of everything in nature. 5. Something to memorize. I follow nature as the surest guide and resign myself with implicit obedience to her sacred ordinances. Cicero. Nature is commanded by obeying her. Nature is something sometimes subverted, but seldom extinguished. Bacon. Nature is too thin a screen. The glory of the one breaks in everywhere. Emerson. Chapter 7. Who is my sister? A tutor of RG College in Meerut was knocked down and killed in the early part of 2001 by a mob driven by a girl. The accident took place because the girl was overspeeding in an effort to escape from two boys who were chasing her on a scooter. The police registered an accident against the girl, not a case of teasing against two boys. In December 1998, within a college campus at Ambikapur in Madhya Pradesh, a student, Preeti Srivastava, was crushed under a jeep carrying 4 teenage boys. They repeatedly ran over the girl because she protested against their teasing. What is teasing? Under this term is included anything we do or say to cause sexual embarrassment to a person. It takes the form of comments on the physical characteristics of a person, vulgar remarks or gestures, incident proposals, indecent proposals, etc. The word "if" is used because it is generally famous. It is generally famous. It is generally females who are victims of this sort of behavior. The term teasing is used because it is supposed to be merely innocent and harmless fun. As the above examples show, the harmless fun can quickly turn into tragedies. There was the case of the girl traveling in an auto in Chennai who was chased by boys in another auto. Just for fun, they caught hold of her hand and pulled. She fell off her speeding auto and was killed. On Tuesday, December 2000, Amarpal Singh, a teacher in Pencil Khurd village of UP, was hospitalized with multiple fractures. He had been beaten up by a group of students after school hours. What was his crime? He had dared to try to stop some of them from teasing a girl student. Violence in evening. There is also another violent aspect of evening. Some girls are unable to face the embarrassment of it and commit suicide. In September 2003, a 16-year-old girl jumped to her death from her sixth-floor apartment at Wildfall in Mumbai because she was being harassed by a young man. In August 1999, an additional sessions court in New Delhi found Siddharth Puri guilty of abetting the suicide of Radhika Nemchand and condemned him to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment and a fine of rupees 5,000. In 1996, Radhika was a cheerful 15-year-old studying girl had for her class 10 examinations. She then received a call from Siddharth. He continued calling her several times a day for a month. The girl could not face the harassment anymore, and on 12th November, she committed suicide. Surprisingly, many men who harassed girls expect a positive reasons. They expect a positive response from them, and when they do not receive it, they become frustrated and violent. In October 2004, a young man and his two accomplices were tried in a court in Orissa for throwing acid on a girl who was refusing to respond to his proposals. The acid treatment seems to have become the standard of late. The idea seems to be to ruin the beauty of any girl who does not surrender herself to someone. On 13th April 2001, Amir Khan, a policeman belonging to the Armed Reserve of Sambalpur, threw acid on the face of 16-year-old Buddha Boi. She had been resisting his advances for 6 months. She had told him that her first ambition in life was to complete her studies and get a job to support her widowed mother, but he could not wait. Self-defense. From time to time, if teasing do not realize what they are risking when they harass a young woman, they bite off more than they can chew. An unfortunate but amusing incident took place in Ghaziabad near Delhi when a 15-year-old girl bit off the nose of one of two boys who had become unpleasantly aggressive to her and her 13-year-old niece. On 24th May 2001, in the Sindhi Park in central Delhi, a young man in his 20s passed some comments on some woman. He approached too close to one of the more attractive among them. Before he knew what hit him, he was rolling on the ground in pain. On the ground, writhing in pain, the woman rained well-aimed kicks and punches on the man on the ground. As it happened, the woman concerned was Kiran Shetty, a constable on leave. She had come to visit her personal in old Rajendra Nagar and had gone to the park for a little break. The girls of Kailash Hotel in Lucknow University have been harassed by roadside Romeos for years. The situation changed suddenly with the arrival of a new provost, Missy Pandey, empowered by her words and examples. The girls, there are already sufficient laws to punish those who indulge in eveteasing. In 1999, there were 1,142 cases of eveteasing registered in New Delhi. In August 2004, a Bengali filmmaker and her friends were leaving a shopping mall in Kolkata when they were harassed by five class a group of five class 12 students. She took down the number of their vehicle and got them arrested by the police. On 24th May 2002, a district judge in Chikamagalur in Karnataka sentenced a young man to 1 year or rigorous imprisonment for eavesdropping. Andhra Pradesh has a law providing for a fine up to rupees 2,500 and 2 months rigorous imprisonment for eavesdropping. We need to learn to respect everyone around us by choice or for fear of the law. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. What is eavesdropping? B. Give examples of the violence suffered by girls through the eavesdropping. C. Give examples of ways in which women have reacted to or resisted eavesdropping. D. How do the members of a girl's family react to her being teased? E. What attitude did Gandhi want us to have towards every woman? F. Why should we treat everyone with equal respect? G. What lessons did the young man in Bangalore learn when he was teased by girls? 2. Discuss. Girls get teased by boys only because of the way they dress or behave. 3. Something to do. Let the class divide into two groups, one only of boys and other only of girls. The boys will make two lists, one of the everything that the behavior of girls towards them that they like and the other of everything in their behavior towards them they do not like. The girls will also make two lists, one of the everything about the behavior of boys towards them that they like and the other of everything in their behavior towards them they do not like. Read out the four lists in the class. Let girls who have experienced being teased share with the class what they felt, though and did on the occasion. So, something to think about. God made human beings, male and female, to live together as equal parents. I always respect every person of either sex as my own brother or sister. 5. Something to memorize. It is law of eternal justice that man cannot degrade woman without himself falling into degradation. A. Martin. Being a woman is a terribly difficult task since it consists principally in dealing with man. Joseph Conrad. Wherever there is a human being, I see God-given rights inherent in that being, whatever may be the sex or complexion. William L. Garrison. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. UN Declaration of Human Rights. There is a woman at the beginning of all great things. Lamartine. No one knows like a woman to say things which are at once gentle and deep. Victor Hugo. Chapter 8. God's second greatest gift. The greatest gift God has given us is certainly the gift of life. If we did not exist, we would not be able to enjoy anything at all. Life is most precious. In spite of all the problems we face or any physical defeat or illness we suffer from, all of us make great efforts to prolong our life as much as possible. No one of us wants to die. Specialists say that those who commit suicide do so when they are temporarily mad. No one in a sound mind would seriously consider ending his own life. It is not possible to express adequately the gatherness of a human life. No one can complete a list of all that a person is able to accomplish in his lifetime. No one can give a value to the beauty a person is able to create
through poetry, drama, literature, music, philosophy, theology, or in a hundred other forms. Above all, there is no way to measure all that harm, a person can learn and discover the depth and intensity of his love, the nobility of the commitments and sacrifices he is capable of making. There is no way of putting a value to a personal life. Considering all these, we can truly say that the second greatest gift God has given us is the gift of sex. It is through a relationship between a man and woman that a new human being is created. Sex is great and holy for at least three reasons. When we give birth to a baby, we are giving it all the wonderful possibilities offered by a human life. Secondly, we are sharing in the power that God alone has to create life. Thirdly, a sexual relationship is an act of love of such intensity and depth that the two persons involved forget their own self totally and surrender themselves to each other in the most intimate union possible between human beings. God is love. Love is sacred. Animals too produce their young through a sexual union of a male and a female. But there is a world of difference between the sexuality of animals and that of humans. The sexual behavior of animals is totally controlled by their hormones and instincts. Animals can neither resist their sex drive when it is the right season for it, nor can they do something sexual when the season is not right. Human beings are absolutely free to choose the partner, the place, the time, and the nature of the sexual activity they will engage in. They can arouse their sexual feelings whenever they freely decide to do so. They can control, limit, and even totally resist the sexual desires they have. The sole purpose of sexual activity between animals is reproduction. It is a mechanical physical activity. In order to produce young ones like themselves. Animals do not make a conscious special choice for their partners on the basis of emotions such as love. Sexual activity between humans is, above all, an act of love. It is the most intense possible expression of love between two persons. It does not take place between just any male and female. In a perfect human relationship, a particular man and a particular woman deliberately choose each other, moved by their mutual love. Only dying for another person is a greater expression of love than the love in a truly human sexual relationship. The new life that may be generated is the fruit of this great love. In animals, sex is merely a physical fact. Sexuality is only a physical act. In human beings, sexuality is more in the mind and the spirit than in the body. A perfect sexual relationship is more a union of two souls than of two bodies. It is because of this that a physical gesture gives rise to such totally different reaction depending on the circumstances. A touch, a kiss, or a kiss is so beautiful and pleasurable between two people who love each other. The same act is so distasteful and even disgusting when it is done by force by a stranger. Animals are not concerned about nor even aware of any consequences of other animals arising from their sexual behavior. Human beings instead are conscious of belonging to a society. Behavior among the members of the society, including their sexual behavior, is regulated at least to a certain extent by the tradition, norms, and principles of the society. Sexual activity has consequences not only for the two people engaging in it, but also for other members of the society of which they form a part. Human beings, therefore, learn to regulate their natural sex drive according to the guidelines set by society. In our adolescence,
We become conscious of sex and the physical differences between men and women. It is normal that we are curious about the body or person of the other sex and their interests, needs, and feelings. We are curious even about persons of the same sex. We would like to know for certain whether everyone feels, think, and experience all that we do. We are curious function about the functioning of our own body. Are we normal, or is there anything different, wrong, or bad about us? It is also normal that we feel tempted to experiment with sex by ourselves and with others, whether of the same sex or the opposite sex. We ought to remember the complexity, nobility, and sacredness of human sexuality in contrast of that in animals. Our body does not change in a day from that of a child to that of an adult. Neither can we learn, understand, or practice or appreciate the beautiful gift of sex all on a sudden. Physical growth is a gradual process. Our mental, psychological, and spiritual growth is even slower. We should not spoil the thrill of the natural growth process by trying to jump too far too soon. We can derive pleasure out of our growth process itself if we do not rush things. Let everything take place at its normal, natural place. There is a special happiness and pleasure in uncovering a beautiful picture a little at a time. Discover the beauty of sex at the piece and set for it by God. Beautiful piece set for it by God and by nature. Avoid experiments that could turn out to be physically or physiologically damaging for us and for others. Do not blindly believe all that your companions tell you about sex or their experiments of it. If you really think there are things that you ought to know immediately and you do not, or if you feel worried or guilty about something, talk to your counselor about it. Thank God for His gift of sex. Every gift comes with a responsibility, the responsibility to use it well and for the purpose for which the gift was given. If your aunt has given you a beautiful t-shirt, she would be very sad and displeased to see you clean your shoes with it. Learn to appreciate the gifts of sex. Discover the purposes for which God gave you this gift. Prepare yourself gradually to see this gift as and when it is meant to be. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. What is God's greatest gift to us? B. Why do we say that sex is God's second greatest gift to us? C. Give 3 reasons why sex is sacred. D. What are the difference between sex in animals and in human beings? E. Have we to be concerned about the rules set by our community for our sexual behavior? Why or why not? Okay. How ought we to handle our curiosity about sex? See, what responsibility goes along with every gift we receive? To discuss. The best reason to discuss sex with our own companions since they have the same experiences as we have. 3. Something to do. Make an appointment with your counselor to discuss all that you are right now concerned about as regards sex. So, something to think about. I have within me the capacity to create another human being like myself. I must treat myself with respect to being entrusted with such a precious and powerful gift. 5. Something to memorize. Sex lies at the root of life, and we can never learn to reverence life until we know how to understand sex. Havelock Ellis. Never violate the sacredness of your individual self-respect. Theodore Parker. It is wise to learn. It is
godlike to create. Then success. Man is the piece of the universe made alive. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Chapter 9. Talk it over. In the course of our life from birth to death, we go through three major periods of change, growth and transformation. The first change takes place when we pass from the nursing stage to childhood proper. The second time when we change from being children to being adults, and finally when as adults we enter old age. Each phase of change brings with it its own joys and problems. At each phase we experience an inner conflict. On the one hand we want to grow and develop. At the same time there is our desire to remain with the old because we already know it well and we have got used to it. Of the three phases of change, the most interesting but also the most difficult or frightening is the change from childhood to adulthood. When we are children, we do not have any responsibilities. We receive a lot of external signs of love from our parents. They care for us and see to all our needs. We are proud of them and we boast about them. Life is mostly games and fun. Childhood is often compared to paradise. By the time of our adolescence, we have to start looking after ourselves. Our carefree life is over. We are given responsibilities at home and at school. We now have fears, worries, and feelings of guilt. People do not react. People do not respect as People do not respect us merely because we have great parents. We have to earn the respect of others through our own deeds. Sometimes we quarrel with our parents, teachers, and other adults. We may even feel absent of our parents. We then feel guilty about it. Our body starts growing very rapidly. We feel awkward. We do not like to shave or some parts of our body. We feel embarrassed about our body. We get a lot of illness, a lot of pimples. We feel ugly. We discover sex with all its thrills, but also with feeling of shame, fear, and guilt. Talking about all these things with someone we trust could help us deal with them better. In our childhood, we should run home to tell mommy and daddy about every single new experience of ours. Often our parents did not even have time to enough to listen to all the stories we wanted to tell them about our adventures at school. Now, instead, we find ourselves hiding some things from them. We feel embarrassed to speak to them about some matters. We feel a strong tendency to talk about such matters only among our companions. If we limit ourselves to our conversations with our classmates, we could run the risk of the blind leading the blind. The information our peers have is more or less the same as what we have. They are struggling with the same uncertainties, anxieties, and partial information as we are. There is not much we can do to give confidence to each other because each one in our group is in the same situation and is looking for more light. Every young person should have a friendly adult with whom he would share discuss all his thoughts, feelings, desires, and problems. Some people think that only those with serious mental disorders and those who are a little abnormal go to counselors. This is a totally false notion. Human life is extremely complex. Everything within us and around us is changing very fast. It is useful to have someone we can trust, on whom we can bounce our ideas even if we do not want the advice of anyone. The support and encouragement of an adult could be very helpful for us to get the maximum out of this period in our life. We need someone who is mature, someone
with experience of life, who understands us and can guide us. You are you are most fortunate if you have parents with whom you are very much at ease even you in your teenage, but it is quite normal that as you grow up towards young adulthood, you find that there are more and more things you feel uncomfortable discussing with your parents. Some of you may find that your parents are even more embarrassed than you are if you bring up certain topics. You are fortunate if your school has a counselor available to the students full time or at least part time. Such a person generally has done a specialized course of studies in adolescent psychology and has experience in guiding young people. If your school does not have an official counselor, and this is still the usual situation in most schools in our country today, you would be well advised to make friends with one of your teachers. Choose someone of the same sex as you are, who is at least 10 years older than you are, someone you can trust, someone who is friendly and who is willing to spend time talking to you from time to time. What do you need to talk about with your counselor? In what way can he help you? You could talk to him about anything that interests you. Let him first come to know you well. Come to know you well. Tell him about yourself and your family. Once you have built up a relationship, you could tell him about your feelings and your moods, such as your anger, joy, happiness, loneliness, your family, your relationships. You could get information from him about the change taking place within you as you grow up. You could learn from him about relationships, friendship, love, sex, and sexual relationships. He could help you study your personality and your aptitudes, inform you as regards the job market today, and guide you as regards the course of studies you need to take up to find the job best suited for you. The counselor helps you out with the difficulties you encounter in your relationship with your classmates, your teachers, and other adults. Conflicts with parents from an inevitable part of every teenager's life. The counselor could help you deal with these, making them into experience of growth rather than fights that destroy family bonds. The counselor gives you self-confidence in moments when you feel inadequate and incompetent. It is normal to feel anxious from time to time about the demands life makes on you. It is also quite normal to be off mood. Occasionally, you make up certain days in a bad mood, depressed or angry, discouraged or down at the dumps. You are not able to give any specific reasons for these moods. You just feel that way. Your counselor can help you understand yourself on such occasions and make it easier to get through them without doing any harm to yourself or to others. Rapid changes are taking place in your body and mind. You are changing from a child into a young man or woman. This could be a thrilling experience, but some of the things you feel or even think about for the first time could be disturbing to say the least. Some things may even frighten you or give you guilt feelings. Your counselor will give you all the information you need in such situations. In short, your counselor could be the coolest, the closest friend you will ever have in your life. He will help you develop your life skills. He becomes your philosopher and guide, and your relationship could continue right into old age. This is nothing new in our Indian culture. The modern counselor we speak about is the guru or ancient times. Guru of ancient times. Everyone needs a guru. Find a guru for yourself, someone who will guide you through your moments of unease and anxiety and be your closest friend all through your life. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. Which are three major phases of change in a normal person's life? B. Do only abnormal people need a counselor? C. What are some of the differences between childhood and adolescence? D. What new problems does an adolescent face? E. In what way does our relationship with our parents change from our childhood to our adulthood? F. What sort of a person should you choose as your counselor? G. Mention some ways in which your counselor could help you. To discuss. I do not want to be led by the nose by anyone. A counselor would limit my freedom and block all the fun I could have. C. Something to do. A. Find out whatever your parents and for your favorite teachers ever had someone they consider their guru, their philosopher, friend and guide. B. Find a counselor and start interacting with him on a regular basis. So something to think about. No human being is so talented, rich or powerful that he does not need the help of others in various ways at important moments in his life. 5. Something to memorize. Very few men are wise by their own counsel or learned by their own teaching, for he that was only taught by himself had a fool as his master. Ben Jonson. He that won't be counseled can't be helped. Benjamin Franklin. Write down the advice of him who loves you, though you like it or not at present. Proverbs. Chapter 10. Growing up in smoke. Many years ago, there was a film, a comedy. The owners of a puncture repair shop spread out a rubber sheet full of nails on the road not far from their shop. Their business flourished because all the vehicles that got their tires punctured by these nails would stop at their shop to get them repaired. This was just a joke in a film. Something similar but much more serious really takes place in Japan. September 14 is a holiday in Japan. That day they celebrate a great human value. It is the Respect the Aged Day. The Japan Tobacco Company joins in the celebration. Since 1964, it has been sending at this festival a free gift to 10 packets of cigarettes to every inmate of the old people's home in the country. The same company also produces soft drinks, but it does not send these drinks to the aged. It also manufactures anti-cancer drugs and runs a hospital in Tokyo. It would appear that the company wants more people to smoke and thus get cancer, so that their medicines and hospitals may be used more. The Supreme Court of India has given an order forbidding smoking in public places, the sale of cigarettes to persons below the age of 18, and curbing the advertising of tobacco products. The Parliament has also passed a law in this line. The government has banned act of smoking in films. One of the principal international notions behind all this is to prevent the young from taking to smoking. You have probably already heard a lot about the dangers of smoking, but you may still be willing to take risks. The British Medical Journal reported that telling people the dangers they run does not automatically make them change. This is true of smoking. Everyone knows that smoking leads to cancer, heart and lung disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, etc. Yet they continue to smoke. According to a study recently conducted in Delhi, 11 to 14% of school-going children take to smoke in spite of being aware of the harmful effects of tobacco. Perhaps you also cannot be frightened Perhaps you also cannot be frightened into not smoking or into stopping to smoke. Threats may only serve to challenge you to take risks. Some risks are too foolish to take. They are not worth it. It is not the intention of this chapter to frighten you into not smoking. Here is just a college of facts. Just a collage of facts, figures, even declarations of all of them related in some way to the habit of smoking. It is up to you to decide what you want to do after studying it. Smoking is already banned in public places in many countries such as Thailand, South Africa, Australia, the United States, Canada and France, AFP. Health Minister Ambubani Ramdas said in May 2004 that about 21% of children in Tamil Nadu below 17 smoke, and films have contributed significantly to the figure. Nicotine weed is an abundance, and tobacco is a drug. In fact, nicotine is already marketed as a drug. It is used, for instance, in unclearative colloids. Dr. K.K. Agrawal. When someone smokes a cigarette, the nicotine enters the blood, crosses the blood-brain barrier, goes directly into the brain, and releases many chemicals like dopamine. Dr. Robert Nasco. The frightening increase in tobacco consumption in India at a time when dependence on nicotine is reducing rapidly in the West has raised serious worries. For example, the average number of cigarettes smoked per person in the US has fallen by over 40% over the last 2 decades. India is now second only to China in tobacco production and bears the consequences of the poison by also ranking second in tobacco-related deaths. The use of tobacco has been identified by WHO as the biggest preventable cause of death. In addition to lung cancer, tobacco causes tumor of the larynx, pancreas, kidney, bladder, and when combined with alcohol drinking, a high rate of cancer of mouth and esophagus. All the smokeless tobacco products, gutka is gradually taking a toll on mankind. Anil Chandra Kakoti. In England, 346,000 patients are admitted to National Health Service hospitals each year due to illness caused by smoking. Half of all teenagers who smoke now will die of diseases caused by tobacco if they continue the habit. Times of India. In 1964, 52% of men in the US smoked, compared with 34% of women. Today, about 26% of American men and 22% of American women smoke. USA Today. Over 2,000 people die every day of tobacco-related illness in India. According to a WHO report, smoking among women in India is becoming common despite the fact that it is not socially acceptable. Purnima Joshi. Smoking, it has been famously remarked, is a dying art. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pramod Mahajan said that India spends 13,517 crore every year on treating a million people suffering of tobacco-related illness. Hindustan Times. Passive smoking, breathing and the smoke someone else has breathed out, also causes cancer. Children face asthma risk from passive smoking. A Los Angeles jury ordered Philip Morris, the makers of Marlboro, among other brands, to pay a smoker, Richard Burton, who caught lung cancer, a mind-boggling $3 billion, about 14,000 crore as a punishment. Major cigarette smokers went on trial in 2004 in the US government's $280 billion case, which charged the tobacco industry with deliberately deliberately deceiving the public about risks of smoking since 1950. The Telegraph. When Malcolm, the rugged, handsome cowboy actor and Hollywood stuntman, the model who starred the Marlboro magazine and Billboard advertisement, died of cancer in California, USA in 1992, he presented the tough and handsome smoker's image for Marlboro. Life expectancy in the US is 74, when Malcolm was only 51 when he died. It caught up with me. I have spent my last month in an incubator, and I am telling you the truth, it just is not worth it. When said in an interview before he died. Joe Nekmakchang. Research in London have shown that smokers are prone to premature wrinkles and sagging skin and even sexual incapacity. Do you want to look and be young into ripe old age? Don't smoke. Sunday Times. Kissing a smoker is like licking an ashtray. Girls and women are being targeted all over the world by tobacco advertisers with images of freedom, equality, slimness, glamour, and wealth. Dr. Judith Mackey. Smoking results not only in cancer and heart disease. There is a problem of bad breath, diminished sense of taste, and small failure of dental implants, discoloration of teeth. There are some 25 diseases which smoking causes. Hindustan Times. Cigarette smokers die on average 10 to 15 years earlier than non-smokers, but kicking the habit can have the risk, according to a 50-year-long research released on 22nd June 2004, The Telegraph. Why do youngsters smoke? It's like a time pass. When I have nothing to do, I light a cigarette. Pretty. It was like a status symbol to impress girls. Shubhit. The day I started college, I had new freedom and I wanted to smoke the most of it. Rajesh. When I started working, I wanted to be like a man, make my own decisions. Even though it is injurious to my health, I know it is my own decision. Another way of saying I have grown up. Rohit. I started mainly because all my friends smoked, but now I am hooked on to it. Yasmin. Whenever someone close to me causes me pain, I smoke. It's very depressing when someone you love doesn't treat you well. Sumit. I smoke to get into the mood. The nicotine in the cigarette keeps me going during parties. Seema. I wanted to be hip too, so I started off. But now I know non-smokers are more hip. They are not dependent on anything to get them into the mood. Prima. A 16-year-old Malaysian student was allegedly beaten up by a bunch of his schoolmates when he refused their invitation to smoke a cigarette. Cheng O. Ching received bruises, cuts, and black eyes in the attack. My son refused to smoke and 20 of his schoolmates began attacking him with chairs and legs of broken tables. Ching's mother, Wang Lei King, was quoted as saying, "If there is one thing youngsters want, it is freedom from rules, parents, teachers, elders. Youngsters free themselves from the control of all this and then enslave themselves to a dead object, a cigarette. The packet calls and they cannot say no, they have to obey. How ironic." Stop. Here are some tips for those few among you who may have already started smoking. 1. If you smoke even 3 cigarettes a day, don't fool yourself. You are already addicted. You will not find it easy to give it up. 2. Smoking drastically reduces the vitamin C in your body. Your intake of vitamin C should be at least double that of a non-smoker. 3. Do not smoke a cigarette to its filter. The last 1/3 of the cigarette contains more nicotine than the other 2/3 put together. 4. Decide a date by which you will stop smoking and stick to it. 5. Some people find it easier to reduce their smoking gradually till finally they can do without it. Others find it easier to stop all on a sudden, bear the unpleasantness for 3 days and then be totally free. Find out which suits you better. 6. Avoid high-risk situations. When someone in your company lights up, walk away. 7. Do not buy cigarettes at all, or buy them one by one. Do not keep a lighter or matchbox on you. 8. Take one day at a time. Do not think about tomorrow. Avoid smoking just for today. 9. The key to your success is self-motivation. You are the only one who can make you stop. Exercise. 1. Answer the following questions. A. What are some of the effects of smoking? B. Why is it at times useless for frightened people telling them about the risks involved in what they do? C. Why has the government forbidden actors to smoke in films? D. Give 3 facts or statements about smoking that impressed you the most. E. Why do youngsters start smoking? F. What advice would you give to a smoker? G. Which is the best way to stop smoking? 2. Discuss. What ways other than smoking do we have to prove to people that we are no longer kids, that we are grown up? 3. Something to do. Interview the heaviest smoker you know. Ask him how he started smoking, what he experienced as consequence of his smoking, how many times he has tried to quit, why he has not done it yet, what his hopes and plans for the future are, what he thinks of you starting to smoke. Share the results of your interview with the rest of the class. Something to think about. How foolish to shorten our life by dirty habits like smoking and consumption of other tobacco products. 5. Something to memorize. Take care of the children. Tobacco will kill you, and I am living proof of it. Melbourne Man when Maclean's last words. Each cigarette has 5 times more tobacco than a bidi. To cease smoking is the easiest thing I ever did. I ought to know because I did it 1,000 times. Mark Twain. Smoking kills live men and cures dead swine. George D. Parentis. Habit, if not resisted, soon becomes necessity. St. Augustine. The unfortunate thing about this world is that the good habits are much easier to keep up than the bad ones. W. Smorgasm. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. Samuel Johnson. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. Chapter 11. The Curse of the Millennium. Gautam used to be a drug addict, but now works in a rehabilitation center. He says, I know that I will never be cured of my addiction. All I can say is that I am clean right now. I am clean today. Thank God for that. In the early stage, I recovered and fell back
so many times that I know I can fall back even today. I have attended the last tries. I have attended the last rites of most of those who started out at the detoxification center with me 21 years ago, and so I know I am never cured. I live, I live from day to day. I can make one little slip anytime at all, and I will be as badly off as I have ever been. I thank God I remained clean to the end of today. The soccer genius who had taken the world's breath away with his magic left foot in the 1980s was unable to breathe on his own when admitted into hospital in April 2004 after he has taken a cocaine overdose. Diego Maradona has long been in therapy to battle a drug addiction that has left him a bloated circuit, bloated caricature of himself, regarded as one of the finest players of football, possibly second only to Paul, possibly second only to Pele. Maradona led Argentina to World Cup victory in 1986. He was suspended in the Italian Championship in the 1990s after testing positive for cocaine. The soccer genius who had taken the world's breath away with his magic left foot in the 1980s was unable to breathe on his own when admitted into hospital in April 2004 after he had taken a cocaine overdose. Diego Maradona has long been in therapy to battle a drug addiction that has left him a bloated caricature of himself regarded as one of the finest players of the football, possibly second only to Pele. Maradona led Argentina to World Cup victory in 1986. He was suspended in Italian Championship in the 1990s after testing positive for cocaine. The cures of the millennium. Drug addiction is perhaps the biggest cause of the human race today. Millions all over the world have died caused by this illness. Many more will die of it. Most of them are far before their time. The number of abusers continue to grow all over the world. All the power of the most effective modern technologies and the use of the police and their military have not succeeded to reduce the use of drugs. Once it was thought that this was a cause of the rich, that it would limit itself to the countries in the West and the most to the cities in our country. Today we know that drug addiction has reached every corner of every state in India, even if to varying degrees. Why drugs? Alan, during the third year in a polytechnic, was a clever, talented, but rather shy student. I envied my friends in college. They could hold the attention of everyone around them, especially of the girls. I was shy. I went unnoticed all the time. I know some guys who used to take a tablet that seemed to make them bold. I borrowed a couple of them once when I was going to a party with college girls. I did make an impression that day, but that was the first step of my getting hooked. Ashok just wanted to be one of the gang. Many of his friends smoked ganja. They seemed to enjoy it and apparently they suffered no harm. I know what drugs were and the terrible effects they had on people. But ganja is different. It is not a hard drug. You can't get addicted to it. It does not destroy you as heroin does. What I thought? I wanted to belong. The guys kept calling me CC
and mommy's baby. Now I wish I had remained a mommy's baby, Ashok said. I got a strange thrill then when I smoked ganja, but soon the special feeling did not last long enough after a fag. Sometimes it had no effect unless I also took alcohol or a tablet. I was an addict long before I realized it. Pritam was curious. He had every day the boasts of some of his friends. Some took a shot of powder and got a sense of weightlessness. Others felt as though they were flying. Yet others saw beautiful colors. Even ordinary music became heavenly. My philosophy of life was I will try anything once. Should we not experience all that life has to offer? I wanted to experiment with everything possible. I would then do only the things I found good and avoid the bad. I did not know that some things in life are too dangerous to experiment with. My curiosity led me where I am now. I wonder whether I will live to celebrate my 20th birthday. Tony was an intelligent, hard-working boy. Unfortunately, he was born into a poor family. He and his parents made all the sacrifices needed to put him through the best schools in the state. His excellence in studies was useless when he started looking for a job. His home state has hardly any industries. Almost the only possibility for employment is in the government. He discovered that even the lowest post in any department would cost him over a lakh in bribes. In sheer despair and frustration, he fell victim to the first temptation that came his way: drugs. What are drugs? A drug is a substance which, when absorbed by a living body, even in small quantities, causes a great change in the functioning of the being of that being. We use this term also for medicines that cure diseases. There are some substances that change even the mental activity of a person. These are called psychotropic drugs. The habit of abusing this substance is what we call drug addictions. Certain substances are such that we become dependent on them. That is, we become unable to function normally without taking them regularly. There are two parts of this dependency, a physical one and a psychological one. The two of them together hold a victim as between the two jaws of a vice. Once we get into the trap, there is no escape. It is true that some people get addicted faster than others. Some say that this is due to their genes, the kind of bodies they have. But it is equally true that anyone at all can get addicted to some of these drugs. No one is really safe. The only safety is to avoid them altogether. Almost no one starts with heroin or cocaine. They start with talab, khaining, gutka, cigarette, alcohol, or tablets, etc. That does not seem to do much harm, but almost invariably they go on to harder drugs till they are trapped for life. Psychiatrist Sanjay Shaw said in December 2004 that the age at which children start on drugs in DP, it used to be 16 to 17. Today it is 12 to 13. Drug pushers target schools and parties. They want only to make money. We are the victims. No advice, please. Who do you think you are to give me advice? Why don't you just mind your own business? Whoever gave you the right to compare me to others? Those are Nasir's words to his teacher just 4 years ago. His parents used to quarrel all the time. He lacked the attention that he and his problems deserved. just to punish his parents and to make them take notice to him, he started mixing with the wrong crowd. One of his teachers warned him that some of his gang took drugs. Nasir exploded with the above words of anger. Nasir was convinced of the strength of his willpower. He was certain he could get in and out of anything by merely deciding to do so. He thought he could resist the influence of his bad companions. He went into drugs thinking he knew what he was doing, and he could drop it any time he wanted to. Poor Nasir, he has punished himself more than punishing his parents. He went through detoxification 4 times, but each time, just a few weeks after, he was cured, he was back on drugs. His willpower was absolutely gone. He just could not control himself anymore. There really is no cure for drug dependency, just as there is no cure yet for AIDS. The only option is prevention, not someone else preventing me from taking drugs, but my own avoidance of it as I would avoid death itself. Expensive habit. Rajan came from a conservative, traditional, well-to-do family in the south. He was a brilliant student. He found a good job soon after his studies, but he wanted to do IAS. He wanted to do IAS. His parents sent him to Delhi to have the best coaching possible. He started taking drugs as a relief from the stress of his classes, the competition and the loneliness. But drugs are expensive soon enough. The money his parents sent him was not sufficient for his daily doses. When the urge, the need, the necessity was on him where was no denying it, he started stealing. He was caught, arrested and jailed. The police charged him not only with the theft he was caught at, but also with all the other thefts in the locality that had not yet been solved the previous 2 years. Not Rajan alone, but all of his family is ruined. He may never finish all the cases filed against him. Son before. Run before, not after. Sir, you had better come down here at the earliest. The Harmony Central. The Harmony Council in Goa of a certain European country received his call one morning on February 1999. We have a young man here in the hospital who we think is from your country. He is in deep trouble. Marco was the eldest of 3 children of well-educated, decent parents holding respectable jobs. He got into drugs and he could not get out of them. He finally decided to go over to India, a different atmosphere, new friends, a new opportunity to shake his habit. Within 2 months of his stay in India, Marco was found naked in a village well. His father had to fly out and take him back home. Marco needed treatment in a mental hospital. Even now, 7 years after the incident, he is not fully normal. It is of no use trying to run away from drugs after we start taking it. The time to run is as soon as we come into contact with it the very first time and every time thereafter. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. What is the biggest cause on the human race today? B. Do only rich people in cities get addicted to drugs? C. What are drugs? D. How do people get addicted? E. What is meant by an addiction? F. How does a family get ruined when a member gets addicted? G. What is the remedy for drug addiction? H. Do most young people start their addiction by taking heroin first? To discuss. We must experience everything, even drugs, at least once in our lifetime. See, something to do. Invite a recovering addict to your class or visit the inmates of the rehabilitation center. Ask them about the consequences of their addiction on their health, their studies, their career, their relationship, and their family. So, something to think about. Getting out of an addiction can be so difficult that getting into it is far more dangerous than setting fire to my own house. 5. Something to memorize. In the case of drugs, prevention is not just the best cure, it is the only cure. Taking to drug is tantamount to suicide. Many began drinking, smoking, and doing drugs in an attempt to display their freedom, only to find that they eventually develop an addiction that destroys their freedom. Believe me, there are better ways to assert your individuality. Scan Cowboy. Chapter 12. AIDS. Maya hails from a village in Nepal. At the age of 13, she decided to find a job to help her mother support the family. Maya met a man who looked kind. He seemed to love her. Together they went off in search of a job. He asked her to have sex with him. He could not marry her, but would give her money to have sex. When she started falling ill repeatedly, she went to a doctor. Tests showed that Maya was infected with HIV. Rosemary, bracket, not her real name, bracket, is a good-looking girl from a well-off family in Manipur. She was an intelligent girl and was getting an Indo-US scholarship for studies. She used to stay in a hostel where several girls were already addicted to drugs. She joined them. Drugs are expensive and so are syringes. She and her friends used to share a needle to inject themselves with. Unknown to anyone in the group, one of them was already infected with HIV. All of them were soon infected. People who inject drugs and are exposed to high risks of HIV infection. In Manipur, the proportion of young drug injectors infected with HIV zoomed with virtually zero in 1989 to over 67% in just 3 years. Awareness programming have fortunately brought this down recently. HIV/AIDS and the young. On the millions infected with HIV infection or AIDS, at least a third year young people aged 10 to 24 every day, 7,000 young people worldwide acquire the virus. This means around 2.6 million new infections a year are among young people. Of them, 1.7 million are in Africa and 70,000 in Asia and the Pacific. Overall, young people account for at least 50% of all these who became infected after infancy. In some countries, the figure exceeds 60% of the world's young people. 85% live in developing countries, and this is where over 9/10 of the epidemic is now concentrated. By the middle of 2006, there were 5.7 million HIV plus people in India, overtaking even South Africa in the number of victims. Hence, we would be foolish to ignore this topic or refuse to discuss it. We are not too young to fall victims to the dreadful disease. We cannot cure AIDS, but we can prevent it. AIDS stands for acquired. That is, we are not born with it. Generally, we get it. I. Immune. That is, our body's natural defense system against disease. D. Deficiency. That is, insufficiency, weakness. S. Syndrome. That is, a group of symptoms. Hence, AIDS is the name given to a group of symptoms that signal that our body's natural defense system against disease has become too weak. All of us daily come into contact with a variety of illness. If we are in good health and the attack is not too serious, our own body finds way to destroy the organisms that cause the illness. In a person with AIDS, his defense system has been weakened. His body is not able to fight back. Hence, he catches all the illness he is exposed to. Secondly, when he falls ill with any sickness at all, it is much more difficult to cure him. If he catches diarrhea, for example, the body itself is not able to fight back at all. Medicines have to do it on their own, and hence it takes a longer time and stronger doses of medicines to cure him of it. Thirdly, even when the diarrhea is stopped, AIDS itself is in no way stopped, and the person will fall ill again, and the very next time he is exposed to an infection of any sort. HIV, the causes of AIDS. AIDS is caused sometime after a virus called HIV, human immune deficiency virus, infect a person. It is the virus that destroys our immune system. It attaches itself to white blood cells, which are the most important cells in the working of the body's immune system. When the white blood cells are destroyed, our immune system is affected. Symptoms of HIV, that is, signs that show that a person may be infected by HIV are loss of about 10% of weight or more, chronic diarrhea and vomiting, long period of fever without any real cause, pneumonia, certain type of cancer, abnormal skin, glands and eyes, serious heart illness with fever, muscle aches, headaches, rashes or sore about, tiredness and general discomfort, ulcers on various parts of the body, digestive problems including nausea, coughing or shortness of breath and fits, loss of natural thought process caused by brain infection. How HIV or AIDS spreads. Once a person is infected with HIV, he or she can transmit the virus to other people. The ways it is transmitted can be put into two groups: activities that are highly dangerous and activities that are less so. High risk activities: sexual relation with an infected person, use of syringe to inject drugs or medicines without sterilizing the needles adequately, use of HIV-infected blood or blood products for transfusion from infected mothers to child, getting in dental pink or getting hurt in a clinic while helping an HIV-infected person, in kind of organ transplant, feeding infants with donated human milk from an infected person. Low-risk activities: using another person's toothbrush, using another person's razor, having ears or nose pierced or being tattooed, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, infection while cleaning sores on an HIV-infected person can occur only in the patient's blood or other body fluids enter your blood stream through an open cut or wound on yourself. No-risk activities. In the first years after AIDS made its appearance, most of the infected people got it through sexual contact or through sharing of needles for injecting drugs. Hence, there was a tendency to condemn HIV carriers as immoral people. Secondly, since no one has yet found a cure for AIDS, some people dread any sort of contact with the HIV infected. A three-member family in Ganjam, Barampur, suspected of being HIV infected, committed suicide in February 2006, fearing ill treatment from family and neighbors. It is important to know that the following activities do not pose any risk at all of infection by HIV. 1. Sharing of spoons, drinking glass, plate, etc. 2. Swimming in a public pool and using a public toilet. 3. Sharing a room with an infected person. 4. Using a towel or a telephone used by an HIV infected person. 5. Being bitten by mosquitoes, insects like bedbugs, Aedes, etc. 6. Working with an HIV infected person. 7. Sitting in class or place of worship along with the HIV infected. 8. Taking care of the HIV infected. 9. Eating food prepared by an HIV infected person. 10. Sharing pens, pencils, books, etc. used by the HIV infected. 11. Being spent on or sneezed over by a person with AIDS. 12. Playing indoor or outdoor games with the HIV infected. Why especially young people? The young are in greater danger of HIV infection than other age groups. Adolescence and youth are times of discovery and experimentation. We are curious. We have new feelings. We want to explore new types of behavior and relationships. Experiments with drugs and sex involve the highest risks of infection. At times, we are overconfident. We think that bad things happen only to other people. We are safe. Something like AIDS will never happen to us. Overconfidence makes us take foolish risks. Another type of overconfidence is shown by a blind belief that a friend of ours is truly in love with us. We are sure he or she has no relations with anyone else, let alone with someone who might already be infected. At times we are confused by the mixed message coming to us. We are faced with double standards calling from virginity in girls but early sexual activities among boys. We are asked to avoid sexual contact but are aroused by the excesses of sex in the media. All of these factors contribute to the fact that so many young people are infected already and so many more young people get infected every day. Young women's vulnerability. HIV infection rates among 13 to 19-year-old girls are often higher than in teenagers boys. HIV rates in pregnant women under 20 in Maharashtra rose from 2.3% to 3.5% between 1994 and 1996. The female reproductive system more easily allows infection with HIV and other STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. Young women find it more difficult to protect themselves. In many cases, a girl's first sexual contact is with man within the family itself or other person in authority. It is difficult for them to say no. Younger girls are often specially targeted because they are believed to be uninfected with HIV. Prevention. No one has so far come up with a sure cure for HIV/AIDS in spite of years of research costing thousands of crores. One reason for this is that the virus keeps changing its characteristics and behavior over time. Hence, prevention is only the cure. As intelligent people, we avoid each and every one of the activities listed above as high risk and low risk. A very important thing to remember is that a person may be infected by HIV and show no symptom of it whatever even for years. Even a blood test would reveal the virus only 3 months after a person is infected, but risky behavior with such a person can give us the virus even before he or she is aware of being infected. Hence, the necessity for prudence in our relationship with anyone at all. Young people, a force for change. Our understanding of life is certainly influenced by our parents and other adults, but it also developed through our contact with other young people. Our friends shape our understanding of social relationships. We help each other to develop a sense of personal control and responsibility. Mutual support ensure everyone's safe behavior to prevent AIDS. We can give information about HIV to our companion. We draw them into productive activities to use our energies safely. We could give emotional support, care, and attention to those who are already affected by AIDS. We are a force for change because we are young. Most of us have not yet been discouraged by major failures. We are strong, open to change, creative, and idealistic. We are young. We are and should be saviors of the young around us. Exercises. 1. Answer the following questions. A. Who are the people most affected now by HIV or AIDS? B. What does AIDS stand for? C. How does AIDS affect the human body? D. What are some of the symptoms of HIV infections? E. What activities are very likely to lead HIV infection? F. What activities carry no risk whatever of HIV infection? G. Why is it especially important for young people to be aware of HIV/AIDS? H. How can young people be a force for change in our society? Discuss. How can we help each other to avoid HIV infection? See, something to do. Visit an AIDS patient to share his experience and give him your support, understanding, and encouragement. For something to think about. Ignorance only increases the risk of AIDS. Correct knowledge and safe behavior can protect me and my friends. Right, something to memorize. The diseases of the present have little in common with the diseases of the past, have save that we die of them. Agnes replied. Chapter 13. Born to Love. It is nice to be loved by someone, mused Kiran as she sat talking with her friend one evening. Yes, it is wonderful, is not it? Her friend joined in. Love. Magic wand that waves dreams. Magic emotion that sends poets into rapture. Magic dreams that heals the sick. Magic harmony that inspires music. Magic glue that binds strangers together. Magic powers that keeps the world alive. Love, magic power. All the religions of the world consider love as the heart of the universe. The world and all its wonders came into existence by this power. Love is the greatest and the most basic commandment. Love the Lord your God. Love your neighbor. We can never finish reading all the letters, poems, songs, and stories that have been written on love. Love is the power that makes the world a place worth living in. Everyone at one time or another has been touched and nourished by it. There would be very few individuals who have not realized the sweetness of it. At the same time, there would also be very few who at some time or another time have not been hurt by its absence. If love and loving are so sweet and longed for by all, and if everyone knows the tragic result of the absence of love. Why do we love so little? Why do some consider hatred a better option? Why do some resolve never to love again? Why is it that some people refuse to accept love when it is offered? Why are some people afraid to love? Many are quite confused as to what love is and what it is not. What is love? To love does not mean to have sex. To love is to will the good of the other. Love is not merely feeling nice to be with someone, but a serious decision to reach out to another person. It is wanting the good of the other, whether the other deserves it or not. It requires tremendous effort to love, to walk the extra mile with someone. Love is a commitment to the growth or of oneself and of others. It does not demand that you destroy yourself nor the other, nor does it try to lure another person to praise yourself. In November 2005, a man in Bhuj asked his fans how much she loved him. When she said that she could die for him, he asked her to prove it. He made her lie down on the road and then drove his car over her. He then fled, thinking she was dead. She was taken to hospital by a man passing by on a tractor. This certainly is not love, neither on his part nor on hers. On 18th April 2004, a woman in Madurai set herself on fire and died. It seems she was unable to bear the death of her pet dog. A woman from Hairpur village in Bihar committed suicide in April 2004 because her husband would not allow her to vote for a particular candidate. These are not acts of true human love. In May 2004, Sweta Naran, a pretty young woman of Indore, married Captain Malay Acharya in 2002. He had suffered a spinal cord injury in an operation along the Pakistan border. True, the captain is paralyzed from the waist down, and despite the opposition from her family, she was determined to marry her friend. This is true love. Love enables one to be at one's best. It does not make one helplessly depends on another. As John Denver sings, love is everywhere. I see it. You see it. You are all that you can be. Go on and be it. Love has many forms. Love is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. Love does not get easily angry or feel hurt. It does not remember wrongs. In fact, it will hurt. It will hardly even notice it whether do it wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices when every truth wins out. If you love someone, you will be loyal to him no matter what the cost. You will always believe in him, always expect the best of him, and always stand your ground in defending him. In defending him, all the special gifts and powers from God will somebody come to an end, but love goes on forever. Love yourself. Have a good look at yourself and say, wow, here I am, a unique, precious human being. Nothing or no one can substitute me. Nothing or no one can substitute me. I may not be perfect, but this is what I am. Being to fall in love with yourself. Be happy with yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Jesus. Loving others starts by loving yourself. Loving oneself. Mark Twain said, the roast loneliness is not to be comfortable with yourself. Learn to listen. For love, in our culture, people do not feel comfortable to tell us, I love you. But they say the same thing in a wide variety of other ways. Take care. Don't drive too fast. Reach back home before dark. Be good. Are you okay? You don't look well. Is there anything troubling you? How was the how was the test? The list is numerous. Rather than get irritated with these expressions, learn to recognize them as words of true love for you. People love you and are interested in your welfare. Truly listening to people is one of the best ways of showing your love. Listen not merely with your ears, but with your eyes, with your heart and your entire person. Understand the non-verbal message of the face, hands and body posture. Do not be thinking of what reply you want to give. Just listen and try to understand the person fully. Repeat briefly what you have heard so that they see that you have really understood them. Do not give advice. As Dr. John Gray says, most people, particularly women, speak about their problems not because they want solutions. Listening to them and making them realize that we have understood them is the best service we can give to people facing difficulties. Appreciate others. Love rejoices wherever there is goodness and beauty. People long for appreciation, however much they may deny it. There are so many young people who are sad and discouraged because their parents, teachers, and friends never saw them any appreciation. When people are taken for granted, they begin to die. When no one notices a person, he or she begin to hunt for attention, and this can be very dangerous to him or her for others. A few words of praises and a few signs of real appreciation are all it takes to make people feel wanted. Be tough. Love is not for weak and the touchy one. John Powell, the famous American writer, says that when you love someone, you are placing yourself at the risk of being rejected by the other person. He may turn back on you and say, I just don't like you. And it is not easy to take it. It hurts. A person who is not tough and strong will fall under that rejection. He may refuse to love again. On 24th June 2004, a student was writing her examinations at Vijayawada when a classmate of hers came in, stabbed her with a knife at least a half dozen times, and killed her. She had refused to respond to his love for her. In March 2006, a man poured acid on his ex-girlfriend at Rourkela. In May 2004, a 24-year-old girl burnt a man to death at Alibag after he stoned her. Not everyone will respond positively to your love. You cannot control the feelings, choices, or decisions of others. No one can force you to love him, her. So, too, you cannot force anyone to love you. We learn to respect the feelings of others. We do not harass them, not spread rumors about them to destroy their relationship. Respect others. Love helps us grow in freedom. As a poster says, if you love something, set it free. If it yours, it will come back to you. If it does not, it never was yours. Love is not possession. Love leaves us. Love leaves the loved one free. Love does not imprison the loved one. Every person needs freedom, and love respects that. Respect the privacy and the needs of others. As a Swiss proverb says, love your neighbor, but don't pull down the hedge. Distinguish between infatuation and love. When we are very young, we often experience that what is known as puppy love. At this age, we often fall in love with someone we do not know at all. We have just seen the person at a tuition class, a picnic spot, a place of worship, or the bus stop. He or she looks so attractive that we think we will not be able to live without him or her. This is not true love, but infatuation. We are not attracted by the person, but by the shape of his or her body, his mannerisms, etc., which are very external and superficial. We cannot really love a person we do not know. True love flows when we know well his or her personally. When we know well his or her personality. If is it is infatuation when we feel the need of being with the other every minute of each day. It is infatuation when we cannot pay any attention to our studies or other activities because we need to think about him or her all the time. It is infatuation if we get angry or jealous when we see that he or she has another friend. It is not true love when we can see anything. When we can see nothing but good in that person, he or she seems to be absolutely perfect. It is not true love when we feel ready to do things that are wrong or even harmful to us just to win he or her attention or love. Do not put conditions to love. Love lands in problems because we expect the persons we love to love us back in equal measure. We tend to have great expectations from those we love. And when the other person fails to live up to our expectations, we say, "Oh, what kind of a person he is or she is. I have done so much for him or her," and break off all relationships. If our love is based on conditions, it is no love at all. True love is unconditional. A guru asked his disciples how they could tell when the night had ended and the day began. One said, "When you see an animal and in the distance and can tell whether it is a cow or a horse, you know the day has dawned." "No," said the guru. When you look at a tree in the distance and can tell if it is a neem tree or a mango tree. "Wrong again," said the guru. "Well, then what it is?" asked the disciples. When you look into the face of any man and recognize your brother in him, when you look into the face of any woman and recognize in her your sister, if you cannot do this, no matter what time it is by the sun, it is still night for you. Anthony de Mello. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. What is love? B. How can I change the world through love? C. Why is it important to listen to people? D. Is it possible to force someone love you? E. What risks do we take when we love? F. Explain a few elements that distinguish true love from infatuation. F. True love is unconditional. Explain. Discuss. Loving people is only a sign of weakness. I do not need love. I am a rock. I am an island. It is better not to love because if you love, you will be hurt. 3. Something to do. Write a poem on love or write a love story. 4. Something to think about. It is not possible to love equally all the teachers and students in my schools or even my class. It may even be difficult to love everyone in my family. Yet being able to love everyone, at least to some extent, is the only way to true happiness. 5. Something to memorize. Love built on beauty soon as beauty dies. John Donne. To love is to place our happiness in the happenings of another. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Love gives itself, it is not bought. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. A coward is incapable of exhibiting love. It is the prerogative for the brave. Mahatma Gandhi. I never know I never knew how to worship until I learned how to love. Henry Ward Beecher. Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outwards together in the same direction. Anthony de Saint Exupéry. Chapter 14. The Octopus. I am proud to be an Indian, but ashamed to belong to the third most corrupt country in the world, declared Sid Khera, a prominent writer and public speaker on 17th April 2001 at New Delhi. He referred to the billions deposits by Indians in Swiss banks. It is certainly not too flattering to learn that an agency, the Transparency International, has placed us 10th in their ranking, 10th most corrupt nation in the world out of a total 180. Is this ranking really justified? Comparisons are odious. It does not matter where we are in comparison to anyone else. What matters is what we actually are. We have several former chief ministers who are facing a host of corruption charges. Yet they and their parties continue to win elections. Perhaps people have come to the conclusion that corruption is inevitable. That everyone practices it. That we cannot get anything done without a bribe. And so these corrupt people do not deserve to be penalized, especially since everyone else is equally corrupt. In May 2001, the Anti-Corruption Bureau found government officers in Guntur allowing others to sit in their office after office hours to collect bribes on their behalf. In April 2004, an IRS officer at New Delhi was charged with corruption during his posting in Mumbai. It was corrupted on 22nd May 2006 that the government of Uttar Pradesh has been giving out rupees 3 lakh every year since 1989 to desilt the irrigation canals from the Sharda River to the fields. The farmers say there has never been any water in the canals all these years. Even in the midst of the tragic tsunami, there were fake NGOs and rescue workers taking advantage on the victims as well as manipulating records to siphon off funds for themselves. People claiming to be relatives of orphans stole money meant for them. After the serial blasts in trains and railway stations in Mumbai in July 2006, a couple falsely identified a dead body as their relatives in order to claim a compensation. I am proud to be an Indian, but ashamed to belong to the third most corrupt country in the world, declared Sid Khera, a prominent writer and public speaker on 7th April 2001 at New Delhi. He referred to the billions deposits by Indians in Swiss banks. It is certainly not too flattering to learn that an agency, the Transparency International, has placed us 10th in their ranking, 10th most corrupt nation in the world out of total of 180. Is this ranking really justified? Comparisons are odious. It does not matter where we are in corruption to anyone else. What matters is what we actually are. We have several former chief ministers who are facing a host of corruption charges. Yet they and their parties continue to win elections. Perhaps people have come to the conclusion that corruption is inevitable, that everyone practices it, that we cannot get anything done without a bribe, and so these corrupt people do not deserve to be penalized, especially since everyone else is equally corrupted. In May 2001, the Anti-Corruption Bureau found government officers in control, allowing the others to sit in their office after office hours to collect bribes on their behalf. In April 2004, an IRS officer in New Delhi was charged with corruption during his posting in Mumbai. It was reported on 22nd May 2006 that the government of Uttar Pradesh has been giving out rupees 3 lakh every year since 1989 to desilt the irrigation canals from the Sarda River to the fields. The farmer says there has never been any water in the canals all these years. Even in the midst of the tragic tsunami, there were fake NGOs and focus and rescue workers taking advantage in the victims as well as the manipulating records to siphon off funds for themselves. People claiming to be relatives of orphans stole money meant for them. After the serial blast in trains and railway stations in Mumbai in July 2006, a couple falsely identified a dead body as their relatives in order to claim a compensation. Two institutions that people still use to trust were the armed force and the judiciary. As a fallout of the Teheleka exposure, a major general was dismissed and several officers are still under investigation. On 17th July 2001, 25 judicial officers in Jharkhand, including additional district judge, sub-judge, and manifest, were dismissed on corruption charges. In May 2003, a judicial magistrate in Jalandhar was caught red-handed while accepting a bribe of rupees 7 lakhs from a complainant. The scandalously long time it takes to complete a case in India leaves the judicial system open to actual corruption and even greater suspicions of it. China has provisions for special courts and summary trials for corruption charges, followed immediately by the death penalty for the worst among the corrupt. No long ago, in a single case at Yemen, 11 persons, among them police and government officials, were sentenced to death. 12 others were condemned to life imprisonment and another 58 received shorter jail terms. Hundreds of others have been shot for corruption in the last few years. In India, we have democracy and we follow due process. Thank God of that. But it is unfortunate that the corrupt are the ones that make the greatest use of them to avoid paying the less penalty for their crimes. Someone who makes a large amount of money illegally always sets aside enough of it to pay the lawyers who will need to keep him out of jail. They learn to use or rather misuse every possible loophole in the law books. From time to time, this cat and mouse game with the law takes an ironic turn. A trial court sentenced an engineer, Madhukar Bhaskaro Joshi, to a year's imprisonment after nearly 20 years of legal battles over bribery charges. He appealed to the Bombay High Court and his sentence was reduced to just 1 day in jail. Joshi, however, did not want to spend even that one night in jail and appealed to the Supreme Court on 10th November 2000. A division bench of the Supreme Court reversed the High Court order and restored the trial court sentence, sending him to jail for a few years. It is easy to point finger at the highest ups, but corruption has pervaded all fields and all strata of society. We bribe policemen to escape a fine for overspeeding, for not using helmets, or 100 other real or imagined offenses. Pollution in our cities does not come down as it should because we pay a bribe to get a green label for a polluting vehicle. We pay bribes to licemen to linesmen to have our telephone functioning as it ought be. We bribe meter readers to help us steal electricity. Narendra Nath, Minister for Education Delhi, raided the office of the State Council of Education, Training and Research on 20th July 2001. He found totally ineligible candidates and the merit list for admission into teachers training courses. Of the 50,000 who appear for the entrance test, seats are available for only 1,000. 70 of those who were selected and placed in the merit list had written absolutely nothing on their answer sheets other than their roll numbers. Coaching centers and officials plot together to get such students into the list in return for a consideration. Former Union Law Minister and Rajya Sabha member Ram Jethmalani was perhaps right when he declared on 26 November 2000 that the main cause of poverty in India is corruption. What is corruption? Even K.T. Thomas, former Justice of the Supreme Court, is yet to find a definition of corruption that would cover all the ever-stretching tentacles of the octopus of corruption. He was comparing corruption to an octopus which uses its several tentacles to catch, strangle and kill its victims. Who is corrupt? He is corrupt who uses influence or gives gift to receive services that are his by right or to gain undue advantage for himself, his family or friends, or accepts influence or gifts to give services that are his duty to give. The son of Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of Britain, was arrested for substance abuse. At around the same time, the daughter of George W. Bush, the President of America, was fined and ordered to do community service for drinking beer before reaching the age of 21. Would this have taken place in India? The police in our country can do little against the rich and the powerful. Are we corrupt? Some of us do not put all we can into our studies. We know that our parents are rich or influential enough to get as a seat in some good institutions for our further studies. Some of us get into trouble but then expect our parents to use their power or position to help us escape the punishment we deserve, which everyone else would normally receive. Some of us are weak in one subject or another and we need tuition. We then go to any good tutor who can help us. Other among us take tuition whether we need it or not, and that too from our own teacher at school. We hope that at the end of the year he will help us directly or indirectly to get ready for the examinations by hinting at possible questions. Some of us give gifts to some particular teachers whose kindness to us, such generous students at the time of correction, is well known but not talked about openly. Some of us get our parents to visit those who are evaluating our papers. Some of us make our elder relatives write essays for us or do painting or such other things. To win competition meant for under 16s or whatever. Some of us get false birth certificates to join sports events meant for juniors. Others try for SC/ST certificates to benefit from quotas and concessions. Some of us show disrespect towards companions or even teachers from the lower caste to cover up our own lack of intelligence or hard work. Some of us use our bigger size or our sensitivity to bully weaker or younger students into giving us what is not ours but by right. Some of us have various ways of getting privilege in the library, computer room, gym, canteen, etc. What other items can you add to this list of the ways is in which we make use of money, power, or strength to get what we do not really have the right to? These are all little steps towards corruption at higher levels later in life. We have no right to point to sorry. We have no right to point fingers at others as long as we are indulging in any of these. Those living in glass houses should not throw stones. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. Who is corruption? What is corruption? B. Give some examples of corruption in high places in our country. C. Which two institutions in our country used to be respected by most people? D. Give some examples of corruption in the life of ordinary people in our country. E. Why is corruption compared to an octopus? F. Give some examples of corrupt practices among students. G. Can we point out fingers at corrupt people if we ourselves use unfair means? To discuss. Is it correct to say that corruption is the main cause of poverty in India today? What are the corrupt practices in our own day-to-day life? How can we reduce or eliminate them? 3. Something to do. Organize an action as a class or as a school to make people aware of the harm that corruption does to us and our nation. 4. Something to think about. Corruption is a monster. If I indulge in it, it will turn around on me one day and devour me. 5. Something to memorize. Anyone entrusted with power will abuse it if not also animated with the love of truth and virtue, no matter whether he be a prince or one of the people. Jindila Fortune. He that is of the opinion that money will do everything may well be suspected of doing everything for money. Benjamin Franklin. Power does not corrupt men. Fools, however, if they get into a position of power, corrupt power. George Bernard Shaw. Power does not corrupt men. Fools, however, if they get into a position of power, corrupt power. George Bernard Shaw. Chapter 15. Power from barrel of a gun. It has been said that power flows from the barrel of gun. This was proved totally wrong by Mahatma Gandhi, who used no physical weapon, whether to defeat the greatest power of his times, the British Empire. We see violence of all types all around us. Perhaps the most common but the least spoken about form of it is domestic violence. Violence among members of the same family is all the more painful because it occurs between people who are supposed to love one another. Most of this violence is directed at the women in the family. From 1998 to 2002, in Tripura alone, 173 women were killed because of dowry-related disputes. Studies in 2003 showed that 45% of Indian women are slapped, kicked, or beaten by their husbands. Surveys by the International Center for Research on Women estimated that this could be as high as 60%. Delhi-based Women's Helpline Human Law Network said they received 3 to 5 distress calls related to domestic violence every day. The All India Democratic Women's Association claims to have handled 50,000 cases in a single year. In 2004, a bill against domestic violence was allowed to lapse and a new bill is still under discussion. Relation with families have to be based on acceptance, love, forgiveness, and sacrifice. As Shah Rukh Khan once remarked, relationships have 3 rings: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and suffering. On 12 June 2005, it was reported that in Delhi, 41% of rape victims are teenagers. Most rapes are not committed by strangers. In 93% of these cases reported in 2005, the accused was known to the victim. In fact, neighbors and relatives accounted for every single case of rape that year. Domestic workers are another target of domestic violence. They are mostly poor girls working for richer families for up to 17 hours a day for very low wage. Violence against these girls take various forms and often for no fault of theirs. Where is certainly the worst form of violence? In where we kill human beings with almost no feeling of guilt. We are almost proud of it. Though even wars are supposed to be governed by international laws. In moments of anger, soldiers kill a lot of innocent civilians. In June 2004, Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General, warned that the very fundamentals of international humanitarian law and human rights have been under great pressure, and there are concerns that counter-terrorism measures have not always complied with human rights obligations. Warning factions often recruit even children to fight their battles. Our country has seen in recent years a growth in violence between ethnic groups and religious communities. There is war going on between the rich and the poor, the low castes and the higher castes. Violence is wrong even when it is only expressed in words. We need to stand up for ourselves and claim our due, but we learn to do in polite words and avoid all expression of hatred and anger. Violence is often the result of injustice. Weaker sections of society feel that they cannot find justice except through the force of arms. It should not be so. We live in a democratic country. All citizens have equal rights. We do not need to use violence. We learn instead the functioning of a democracy. We learn to use all legal means to right the wrong against us. There is a due process to follow to receive what is our due. Violence is wrong even when we feel that we are only taking revenge for the violence or injustice inflicted on us. A Sikh gentleman was beaten to death in the USA soon after he bombing on the World Trade Center. The murderer was caught and given the severest punishment permitted by his state, life imprisonment. Revenge never satisfies even the avenger. People once accepted the principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but as Mahatma Gandhi said, if we follow this principle, soon the whole world will be blind and toothless. Forgive. This is what makes love love. Forgiveness frees a person for love. I'll never forgive him. Forgive? After all that she did to me, impossible. We hear this quite often, and some of us have felt it ourselves too. Carrying life's heart around is a sure way of blocking the flow of peace and love. When we refuse to forgive someone, we carry on our shoulders all the bitterness we feel towards him or her. The person whom we refuse to forgive is then indirectly deciding the way we feel, act and speak. We become slaves to the person we refuse to forgive. Forgiveness frees us and gives us energies for positive purposes. We need to make room for mistakes, our own and those of others. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. Being sad over our mistakes is not going to be of any use. Going beyond failures is in oneself and in others is a sure way of growing in love. He that will have none but a perfect brother must resign himself to remain brotherless. Indian proverb. In September 2004, two people in the 80s got the shock of their lives when they were taken to court by the police of Chalakudi Chalakudy in Kerala because they had been caught gambling 50 years earlier. On March 15, 1953, even the judge shielded the police for sleeping over the case so many years and released the two. The law may keep record of wrong for such long periods. Some people indefinitely carry around in their minds and hearts guard, grudges against people. They do more harm to themselves than to anyone else by such behavior. Love your enemies and do good to them, Jesus. That's a very tall order. Abraham Lincoln was once visiting a camp where prisoners of war were kept. He went among those. He went among these captured enemy soldiers, asking them about their health and their families. Showing real interest in them, one of his generals whispered to Lincoln, "But sir, they are our enemies. They ought to be destroyed." "Yes, my dear general, that is exactly what I am doing. Am I not destroying my enemies when I make them my friends?" Nothing gives greater spiritual pleasure and peace than being able to forgive someone from the depth of our hearts. In September 2004, the Indian hockey team defeated the Pakistani team at a match in Peshawar. They were most pleasantly surprised when a crowd of over 5,000 Pakistanis cheered and clapped for the Indians most appreciatively. There is no doubt that it is difficult to forgive someone who has hurt us deeply. We may say words of forgiveness, but deep in our hearts we find it impossible to overcome the feelings of anger, hatred, and revenge. We could do three things to get the true peace of forgiveness. First of all, we acknowledge to ourselves that we are probably worse than even what our enemy thinks of us. We perhaps deserve greater pain than we received. If we think over this seriously and long enough, our anger cools down. Second, we sincerely pray for our enemy. We do not pray that God may teach him a lesson and punish him for the harm he has done to us. Instead, we pray for the true welfare of that person, that God may bless him. God may bless him, that he may be happy, that he may have true peace and joy in his heart, that he may succeed in all his activities and prosper in every way. Third, to make a conscious effort to do some good to the person who harmed us. We do not even wait for him to ask us for help. He may be too shy to approach us since he remembers the evil wrong he did. Without being asked for it, was offer him some help at the earliest opportunities that comes our way. It is certainly not easy to do these three things, but if we do, we shall free ourselves of hard feeling and desire of revenge that could burden us and destroy our peace of mind. We shall liberate ourselves from everything that would drag us down and prevent us from growing. Our true greatness is not shown by the number of people against whom we have avenged ourselves, but by the number of people we have been able to forgive. Violence is always wrong, whether in words or in deeds. Blessed are the meek; they shall inherit the earth. Exercise. Answer the following questions. A. How did Mahatma Gandhi prove that power does not necessarily flow from the barrel of a gun? B. Which is the commonest form of violence? C. Why is war said to be the worst form of violence? D. Is violence justified as revenge for the harm done to us? E. Why should we forgive those who harm us? How did Lincoln destroy his enemies? C. What three things should we do to get the true peace of forgiveness? To discuss. If we forgive those who harm us, they will only try to harm us even more. Okay, something to do. Make a list of all those who have harmed you in some way. Spend a little while in silence, praying for each one of them for their true welfare and happiness. So, something to think about. When I refuse to forgive, when I keep recalling the harm my enemies did to me, I am carrying those persons around on my soul, blocking my own growth and happiness. 5. Something to memorize. Victory owned by violence is tantamount is defeat, for it is momentary. Mahatma Gandhi. Victory owned by violence is tantamount to defeat, for it is momentary. Mahatma Gandhi. Nothing good ever comes of violence. Rather, violence delights have violent ends. Shakespeare. Violence ever defeats its own ends. Hazlitt. To err is human, to forgive divine people. Pope. He that cannot forgive others breaks the bridge over which he himself must pass in he would reach heaven. For everyone has need to be forgiven. Herbert. The narrow soul knows not the godlike glory of forgiving. So, he who has not forgiven an enemy has never yet tasted one of the most sublime enjoyments of life. Leviathan. Revenge is the abject pleasure of an abject mind. Juvenal. He that studied revenge kept his own words going, which otherwise would heal and do well. Bacon. The best manner of avenging ourselves is by not resembling him who has injured us. John Porter. Chapter 16. Irregular conjugation. To play. I play, you play. She plays, you played, she played. To work. I work, you work, he works, you worked, she works. You have studied in your English grammar class that there are verbs that have a regular conjugation. There are other words that are conjugated irregularly. To have, I have, you have, he has, you had, he had. There are verbs that are conjugated even more irregularly. In fact, the words that we use the most often are conjugated the most irregularly. To be, I am, you are, he is, you were, she was. George Bernard Shaw joked that not only words are conjugated irregularly, we conjugate our judgment even more irregularly. Study the following. I am self-confident. You are proud. He is arrogant. I have determination and preservedness. I have determination and perseverance. You are not open to change and new ideas. She is stubborn. I am generous. You are careless with your money. He is a wastrel. Bernard Shaw calls this an irregular conjugation because we use different words to describe the same thing that different people do. All these of us are behaving in exactly the same way, but we describe it differently. We praise ourselves, claiming to be perfect. We are critical to the person we talk to, but in a polite manner, we speak very badly about someone who is not there with us. Here are more examples of this. Read each set and reflect whether this is the way we want. Speak about ourselves. 2. About the person we are talking to. And 3. About a person who is absent from the group. I do not speak out all that I know because it may hurt others. You twist facts. She is a liar. I am careful of the way I spend I spend my money. You are not generous. He is a miser. I have only good friends. You are too choosy about your friends. She hates people. I like to have many friends. You are indiscriminate in the choice of friends. She is promiscuous. I like to read books. You are a bookworm. She hates company. I always wear good clothes. You are proud. She is a show-off, snooty. I discuss with my parents about everything at school. You are afraid of your parents. She is a spy and a reporter. I live a balanced life, making time for all activities. You do not study enough. He is lazy. He is not interested in anything but fun and pleasure. Here are some more examples of things everyone does. Everyone does. Write down how you look at these same deeds when others do them. Your teacher will tell you whether you will do your work alone or in groups in three or four. Complete the sentences starting with you and he and she. I see the importance of sports and games. You, he. I like to do well in my studies. You, he. Once in a blue moon, I am late by a minute or two. You, he. I obey my teachers. You, she. Can you think of more examples of the sort? Write them down. When we judge our own actions, we always find good reasons for them. When we judge the same behavior in others, we say that they are doing for bad reasons. This is unjust because we cannot read the mind of others. We do not know why they are behaving as they do. They are probably doing it for exactly the same reason as we do. When we speak of people who are not present among us, we often speak badly of them. Speaking badly of people who are absent is a sure way to lose friends. Those who are present with us quickly understand that we will speak badly of them too. When they are absent from our group, they cannot trust us to be loyal to them. They know that it is dangerous to get too close to us. They start avoiding us. Defending and speaking well of people who are absent in the group is a sure way to show that we are true friends. It is a good way to turn enemies into friends. Someone in the group will report to them how we spoke highly of them in their absence. They will appreciate this, understand that they misjudged us and start looking at us with greater respect. We speak well of everyone or we keep our mouth shut. Exercise 1. Answer the following questions. A. Why does George Bernard Shaw call the way we judge an action an irregular conjugation? B. Give two reasons why it is wrong to judge others differently from the way we judge ourselves. C. Whom do we usually judge more harshly, ourselves, the person we are talking to, or the person we are speaking about? D. Is it right to judge different people differently for exactly the same behavior? E. Why do we lose friends when we speak badly of people who are not in the group? A. What is good? What is a good way to turn our enemies into our friends? To discuss. Gossiping about others is the most enjoyable way of passing time and it does no harm to anyone. 3. Something to do. Tonight before you go to sleep, try to count how many people you have spoken badly of in the course of the day. For something to think about. Those who speak to me badly about people who are absent will speak badly about me to others in my absence. Something to memorize. Let me be a little kinder. Let me be a little kinder. Let me be a little blinder. something to memorize. To the fault of those around me. Edgar G. Gust. Judge thyself with the judgment of sincerity, and do with judge others with the judgment of charity. J. Mason. We do not judge men by what they are in themselves, but what they are relatively to us. Mad. A man has generally the good or ill qualities that he attributes to mankind. Shenton. Lynx-eyed to our neighbors and moles to ourselves. La Fortunate Sweeten. In judging others, a man labors in vain, often errs and easily sins. But in judging and examining himself, he always labors truthfully. Fruitfully. Thomas Campus. Judge not and do shalt not be judged. Bible. Page 84. The End of Lessons for Living, Part 9, Seria Publications. Read by Hassan Zaman Malik. 27th